Call the meeting to order at 10 o'clock on Friday, May 8th. Vice Chair, would you like to take roll and announce if we have a quorum, please?
Absolutely. This is Marty Armstrong, Vice Chair. Taking roll, John Rosensky. Present. Susan Landry.
Present.
Patricia Trout.
Here.
And Chair.
Here.
All accounted for, we have a quorum.
We have a quorum, fantastic. Just a few procedural remarks and introductory comments. Committee members, please keep your microphones muted, although it doesn't look like we have them. So I guess we have one microphone, so that's how it'll be today. I'll be announcing for each agenda item that there will be an opportunity for public comment. I want to advise LATC of the voting requirements. All motions and seconds will be repeated for the record, and votes on all motion will be taken by roll call. We'll discuss taking a break between 11:30 and noon for lunch. Figure that out as the morning goes on. And I want to ask members if they have any introductory comments. John.
Yeah,
John Rosensky.
John Rosensky. I just want to say it's great to actually be meeting in person again. It seems like it's been forever. But there is one other thing. I would like to ask if it's possible for future meetings that we add a new business agenda item to the agenda so that if there's any particular things that we're thinking about or want to add for subsequent meetings.
Do you want her sitting at the dais or wherever you want?
So when I present. Noted, thank you, John.
Yeah, when you present, come up. Sorry.
So, John, just to make sure I understand, we're just under the opening comments, and he asked if for future meetings we can place a agenda item for new business? Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
During introductory comments.
well, it would be like at the end of the meeting after we've gone through everything.
No,
If
we're
there's-
in, what I'm saying is we're in introductory comments.
Right.
So there usually is, I believe at the end of the meeting, what do you call that? Ideas or something for future agenda items. So that's where that would go.
Right.
So we would ask the members if they have any ideas for future agenda items, and then we ask the public.
So maybe we can add it. We have review, discussion, and possible action regarding future committee meeting dates, and maybe we just add on to that.
Or agenda.
Okay, so we
Yes.
don't have it.
Yeah.
But we do have public, items not on the agenda for public comments. If that's the only place we can put it in there, but we cannot discuss it. We can just say on a future agenda, it'd be nice if we had this or something.
And that's what he's asking for the future, so, okay.
So just for my clarification, if we did have that on the agenda, there would be we would not be able to have any discussion. at all
Correct.
on that.
Yeah, you can only mention the topic and ask that it be placed on a future agenda because any stakeholders or public members that would like to be involved would have no idea that that was gonna come up. So in the future, if we wanted to, if you wanted to discuss something that's not on the agenda, it has to then be placed on a future agenda.
Right, but in order to outline what that is, how much detail can we go into?
Just enough so that the board knows the committee knows what we're talking about, but, because any detail would be considered discussion, just discussion from you.
Right.
And then input that's not given to proper stakeholders.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I get clarification? So for the next meeting, are we adding in future agenda items to the meeting dates?
Thank you. Okay, seeing no other introductory comments, I will ask if members of the public would like to address the committee at this time for any items not on the agenda. Identifying oneself is voluntary, and at this time, we will open the meeting for public comment on any items not on the agenda. We cannot, we may not discuss or take action on any of the items raised during this public comment section, except to decide whether the item can be referred to the committee's next strategic plan session or place the matter on an agenda for a future meeting. And at this time, we can open up for public comment. Do we have a moderator?
This is the moderator. We do have public on WebEx, but I'm going to just make an announcement to see if they would like to make a comment. So if you would like to make a comment, you may press raise hand icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen. And if you're joining us via calling, you may press *3 to raise your hand. You'll have 3 minutes to make your comment, and we'll be displaying instructions throughout. If you have any comments right now, please go ahead. I see no comments. I return the floor back to you, Chair.
Thank you, moderator. Okay, we're moving along on to item D, update discussion on activities of collateral organizations. This agenda item is purely for me to report to LATC and the public on items that our CCASLA is following at this time. This is not for us to open up to discussion on whether we agree with this, disagree with it. It's for information only. And if there are specific questions, I would refer you guys to CCASLA for more information on the specifics and how they, as an advocacy organization for the profession, might be replying to legislation. So I'll kick it off with AB 1796, introduced by Jackson. And this is the Licensed Commercial Interior Design Practice Act. We are familiar with the fact that there is this assembly bill going through the process of legislation. It is now over to the Assembly Appropriations Committee, as I understand, and there will be a meeting on May 14th. And whether it continues from there will remain to be seen. SB 1107, facilitates the installation of heat-reducing shade structures at schools and educational facilities, and it increases the limit of cost from 20% of the adjusted construction cost to 25%. So it allows more opportunity for shade and heat, protection from heat. Always a good thing. So AB 1960 is framework that identifies and supports cohesive fire communities and allows up to 20% by 2028 and 29 will allow up to 20% of the fire prevention grants program to fund let me find the right term here. This local assistance grant program for fire prevention and home hardening activities. So this bill creates or authorizes any group of residents to apply to the department for identified cohesive fire community status. And it authorizes the department, as I said, commencing with the 28-29 fiscal year to disperse 20% of the funds appropriated to the wildfire prevention grants program. And it also encourages funds to go to disadvantaged communities, prioritizing them. AB 1964 is a bill that would require a county recorder to maintain construction records related to home hardening, and that currently doesn't happen. And AB 2106 is a certificate of merit that extends over to landscape architects now. So existing law requires the attorney for a plaintiff in any action arising out of our professional negligence of an architect, professional engineer, or land surveyor to file what's called a certificate, a certificate of merit, and that declares whether the attorney has consulted or received the opinion that this action, this suit is legitimate or has merit. And right now, that doesn't exist for landscape architects. What this bill also proposes is that instead of it being from, in this case, if this passed, so in addition to it needing to be a landscape architect, that's obviously licensed, it would have to be someone within the state. And right now, for the architects and engineers, it can be from anywhere, from any state. And so it's just making it a little bit more condensed so that it's someone that actually understands the practice within the state of California. So that's that one. And it would remove, it would also remove this exception, which is in current law, that an attorney can file a certification that states that they were unable to obtain a consultation with a practitioner. So it removes that clause. So it mandates that they must do that. AB 946, Governor Gavin Newsom directed the Natural Resource Agency to create the California Biodiversity Collaboration, which conserves 30% of the state lands and coastal waterways by 2030. We know it as the 30 by 30 goal. This bill would encourage decision makers when distributing resources to achieve the goals and benefits to consider factors that are unique to urban settings, like higher land value, acquisition and development costs, and acute health needs of local population due to historic lack of green space access and development, local park needs assessment, etc. It would provide, advance and promote environmental conservation and public access policies and budget actions that the governor's office, state agencies, and legislature shall aspire to recognize maximum investment in those historically urban spaces. And it would encourage regulatory agencies to work with local communities to restore degraded lands. And it would allow the funding programs authorizing statutes and the state's goals for the urban nature-based projects on degraded lands to be eligible and competitive for these state funds as well. That wraps it up for my update. I'll open it up to members at this time. But like I said, we're not allowed to discuss whether we agree or disagree or whatever. This is just to let you know this is legislation that is moving through the state. And like I said, if there's specific questions or a question about whether CCA ASLA opposes or is against, they would have that information.
Thanks for the awareness.
Welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. Yeah. And these are like CCASLA is actively following this. Okay, I'll open it up for public comment at this point.
This is the moderator. If you would like to make a comment, please click on the raise hand icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen. And if you are joining us by mobile dial-in, you may press *3 to raise your hand. We do have a request. You'll have 3 minutes to make your comment. Dave, you're going to see an unmute request on your screen. Please click on that to make your comment. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Hopefully this is the right time. I wanted to bring up an issue that is different that I wanted to see if you guys could address in the future about retired landscape architects and the fees we pay. Is this an appropriate time to do that? Because I thought I tried to do it earlier, but I missed it.
No, I'm sorry. This is not an appropriate time. This is public comment on the legislation that I just reported on.
You can reopen after this.
But we can reopen after this period.
Okay, thank you.
See no other comments. I turn the floor back to you, Chair.
Thank you. And this is a time that I will reopen for public comment on general issues. Are there any general issues that anyone would like to bring up in the public?
Hi, this is the moderator. If you would like to make a comment on general issues, you may look for the raise hand icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen. And if you are joining us via mobile, you may press *3 to raise your hand. Dave, you're gonna see the request on your screen. Please click on that to make your comment. Dave, if you are speaking, you're still muted. Please unmute yourself to make your comment.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay, so, excuse me, I'm a retired landscape architect, not practicing. And I know like the architects have a reduced fee or a retired rate. I was just hoping you guys could address that in the future and maybe provide where retirees get a reduced rate. Otherwise, you're gonna end up losing people like myself who are just not gonna pay and be gone. But if you give us a reduced rate, at least you could keep us in the system. That's what I'd like you guys to look at.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What?
We have no other comments. I turn the floor back to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Are you wanting to say something?
Yeah, I
Open
just
it
have a
back up.
quick question for staff. Do we not have a retiree classification for licensing?
We can't discuss items
I mean,
that
that's kind of a
aren't.
yes or no question. Do we have one?
We do not.
We do not.
Okay,
So yeah, any further discussion would be placed on the next agenda.
thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. We're going to now ask Judy Bucciarelli with the Board and Bureau Relations to present this agenda item, DCA agenda. Do we have? Oh, hello. Did I pronounce your name right?
You did.
Okay, I did it twice, I think. That Italian lessons worked out for me.
Right. Well, good morning, committee members. Again, my name is Judy Bucciarelli from the Department of Consumer Affairs, Board and Bureau Relations. Thank you for the opportunity to provide the DCA update today. Before I get started, I'd like to recognize we have 3 members that will be terming out here soon. And that would be member Landry, Trough, okay, thank you. And member Rushinsky. Yes. So on behalf of the department, I'd like to say thank you for your service and dedication serving on the committee. Okay, my first item is regarding Public Service Recognition Week. And in honor of this week, DCA would like to recognize and show its appreciation to all dedicated staff across DCA's committees, boards, and bureaus. We are grateful to all of our employees who go above and beyond daily to carry out the department's consumer protection mission. On behalf of the department, thank you for your service to California. Next, DCA would like to thank members for completing their annual Form 700 submissions, which were due on April 1st. As a reminder, all new members must file a Form 700 with Fair Political Practices Commission 30 days after their appointment and annually on April 1st of every year thereafter. Additionally, members must file a Form 700 leaving office statement within 30 days of leaving. We appreciate all members' commitment to this important disclosure that provides transparency and accountability to the public. Next, we are excited to share that this spring, DCA relaunched the Enforcement Academy training program, which had not been held since the COVID-19 pandemic. This 4-day training program offered DCA enforcement staff an overview of the enforcement process, investigations, complaint intake, and formal discipline, as well as learning best practices and making connections with other programs. Our March session included staff participation from over 20 different boards and bureaus and we are planning additional academies in August and October of this year. Moving on, DCA's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility Executive Steering Committee recently selected 15 employees from throughout DCA to participate as members of the inaugural DEI subcommittee. This subcommittee will meet bi-monthly to develop and implement multiple initiatives and goals to promote positive organizational impact. The first meeting of the subcommittee is scheduled for July 31st, and we will continue to highlight their milestones and accomplishments. Next, we also wanted to remind members about the upcoming reorganization of DCA's Oversight Agency. On July 1, the Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency will be split into two new separate entities, the California Housing and Homelessness Agency and the Business and Consumer Services Agency. The Business and Consumer Services Agency will be responsible for consumer affairs, licensing, and enforcement. DCA will be among the 8 departments in the new agency. DCA continues to participate in multiple work groups on the logistics required to transition to the new agency and will continue to keep board leadership informed as information becomes available. Next, lastly, for members who are serving in their grace period and are interested in continuing their service on the board, please reach out to Member Relations. We are grateful for your dedication to public service and are happy to work with you to relay your interests to your appointing authority. This concludes today's update, and at this time, I'll turn the floor back to Chair Brief and welcome any questions from the members.
Thank you very much for your report. Are there any questions from members?
Yes.
Landry.
Susan Landry. I was asked to extend, is that it? They asked me, I agreed to extend the 1-year grace period. Do I need to fill out a form or do anything?
I think Board and Bureau of Relations would appreciate an email. Did you,
I think
is that who you're
Kimberly sent,
speaking with?
I think it was Kimberly.
I think so 3 terms expire June 1st, 2026,
Yes.
correct, right? So you do continue into the grace period or for 1 year or until someone's appointed behind you. But yeah, we can let Board Bureau Relations know.
Yeah, we
Either
don't
way.
need to do anything.
You don't need to do
Okay.
anything.
I'll take
If
it.
you don't want to continue, then
Yeah, I said I just wanted to make sure we didn't need to fill out a form.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I just do have one question, and it's regards to the split that DCA went through. Has that process been completed?
Of the agency split? No, it becomes effective on July 1 of this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's still in transition as far as
Yeah, they're
moving
still
people around.
Working on all the logistics, yes.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
See no other comments from members. I'll open this up for public comment.
Hi, this is the moderator. If you would like to make a comment, please click on the raise hand icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen. And if you're joining us via dial-in, you may press *3 to raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. See no comments, I turn the floor back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, moderators. Thank you, Ms. Picciarelli, for your
Thank you.
report today.
You're
Being
welcome.
here. Thank you very much. I will go on to kick it off for the DCA Budget Office. Ask Kim McDaniel to introduce this agenda item.
Great, so thank you, I'm Kimberly McDaniel, the program manager for the LATC. And I just wanted to take an opportunity to acknowledge our conversation and discussion that was very robust for our last meeting and that we all took it to heart. And just to reassure you that we review our budgets regularly at a staff level, we meet with budget regularly. And I just wanted to assure you guys of that information. I meet with Chair regularly, and we have the opportunity to have some discussions too. And I looked at the notes, and it seemed to be falling around a couple of themes. So the first one was concern about the line items, and like what's in those, and why are some red, and and so if you look in your budget section of your packet, the second handout we've shared with you to be responsive to that request is called the LATC Budget Line Item Reference Table. So it looks something like this, just a lot of lines. And so I just wanted to share that to honor your request. You've asked several times just to try to better understand what's in those line items. And so this is our effort to try and reassure you and to help you understand a rather complex budget. Our state budgets are very complex in the way that they are derived. Funds are set up and move through the system. And so those are the some of the details that go with the line items of the budget that you asked for several, for some more information. And so we're hopeful that, after today's meeting, there might not be a need to go into such detail regularly. And so that's one thing I wanted to point out. The second thing was if you turn to the fund condition, because this was also a common thing that I found just reviewing past meetings and looking more into detail. Let me know when you've gotten to the fund condition. It says Landscape Architects Technical Committee Fund Analysis of Fund Condition. Okay. If you look at the bottom of that page under notes, members have asked for, first it was share the reserve number from the last meeting, and so you can see that we have that on there, and thank you Budgets for providing all this information. But we've also added what that fund condition looked like over time, which was something that was suggested. We've had a fee increase, and so you can just kind of see how the number fluctuates over time. When we met with Budgets, they did share with us that that reserve fluctuates for some months even after the budget year ends in July 31st. So I think that's something important to know, because I actually had looked at our November meetings to see, and it made no sense because things are still settling from the prior budget year. And so, so you'll see that reserve kind of continually fluctuate. Our budget, we're always spending things, buying things, and so it's constantly in fluctuation. And so I just wanted to share those things that we have looked at it. We're trying to be responsive, and maybe we could, think of how we want to move forward in our next meetings. Are we providing just a lot of information that kind of gets you guys in the weeds? So I want to turn that over to Luke, and then I will open it up for questions after Luke. Hi, Luke. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Well, we can go ahead and get started. Good morning. My name is Luke Fitzgerald. I'm a budget analyst with the DCA Budget Office, and I'm joined by Budget Manager Suzanne Balkus. I'd like to thank the committee and executive staff for allowing me to present on Agenda Item F, which is the committee's expenditure projections, revenue, and fund condition statement. First, I'll go ahead and start with the committee expenditures, which is on the first page of your meeting materials. These projections are based on actual data through fiscal month 8. This report includes 2024-2025 actual expenditures in green, as well as 2025-26 budgeted and year-end actual expenditures in blue and orange. As we move toward the end of the document, you'll see the committee had a beginning base budget of $1,144,000 and is projected to spend a total of approximately $984,000. This creates a reversion to the committee's fund of approximately $160,000. The next document is going to be the committee's revenue, which is on the next page of your meeting materials. This report includes receipts collected through February. Catch up. There we go. And then I'm actually also going to go further into these projections as we transition to the last slide, which is going to be the committee's fund condition statement. And then as a quick reminder, we read this document from top to bottom and left to right. So the left column is going to be the committee's prior year 2024-2025 actuals. This showed that 2024-25 with a beginning balance of $645,000. The committee collected $1,392,000 in revenues, with $161,000 from initial license fees, $1,169,000 from license renewals, and $62,000 was collected from the issuance of citations, fines, delinquent fees, and other revenue. The committee expended $886,000, which includes $65,000 in direct draws to the fund for statewide pro rata. The committee ended 2024-25 with $1,151,000 in reserve, or about 12.9 months in reserve. For the current year, 2025-26, the committee projects revenues of $1,275,000, with $148,000 projected from initial license fees, $1,067,000 from renewal fees, and $60,000 from the issuance of citations, fines, delinquent fees, and other revenue. The committee's 2025-26 expenditures are based on fiscal month 8 projections at $1,073,000 between authorized expenditures and direct draws to the fund, which leaves the committee with a fund balance of $1,353,000, or about 12.5 months in reserve. In the next two columns, we have 2026-27 budget year, which is based on the governor's budget, and 2027-28 budget year +1, which is based on realized, except for the income from surplus, which is formula driven. The budget office will continue to monitor the committee's revenue and expenditures and report back to the committee with monthly expenditure projections as we continue to close fiscal months in the current year. And then just a few final things to note on the fund condition. The fund condition is a snapshot in time. One of the main factors driving expenditure increases in future years is a result of personal service adjustments. These include general salary increases, as well as employee compensation and retirement rate adjustments. The budget office includes a conservative ongoing 3% increase in expenditures on the fund condition statement to account for these incremental adjustments. You'll also notice that revenue is projected with a high-low estimate in the out years. And then lastly, I'd like to note to the committee that any future legislation or unanticipated events could result in the committee's need for additional resources, which would create cost pressure on the fund. The budget office will continue to monitor the committee's fund condition statement and keep the line of communication open with the executive staff, open for any future needs or expectations. Again, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present at today's meeting, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. I'll open it up to the members for questions. Anyone? Susan? Landry?
Susan Landry here. I'm looking at the expenditure projection report. Down under operating expenses, we have Department pro rata at 240. It looks like that's zeroed out. But above that, the CP services external, is that the right one? No, I'm the wrong row. I'm sorry. Department pro rata is showing a balance of 0, but the external shows that 216,000 will be the budget balance. Does that get carried over into next year, or is that like we just have that left over this year?
Are you referring to the balance column, right?
Yeah, so under CP services external, the PY budget is 272, and when you go over to the projected end of the year, we have 216,000 left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the unexpended expenditures creates a reversion, which goes in the committee's fund.
Okay, so we get that money back in our budget.
Not necessarily in the budget. The budget is not increased year over year from savings from previous years. It goes into the committee's fund, which is on the fund condition statement, and so that's what's driving savings in the reserve balance.
And then next year, will that number go down, or will it stay up there in the 270 number, since we're not using it?
It will stay static. It will not change.
It will stay
the same.
Same. So even though we're not using it all, we would still have that as a line item in our budget.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Hey, remember, this is, Luke, correct me if I'm wrong, this is just, we've only spent 8 months, so we still have another 4 to spend that down?
I beg pardon?
We still have another 4 months, right, to spend down the 216 that she was talking about in that line item. This is only an 8-month snapshot in time?
Yes, this is based on fiscal month 8 out of 12, so 4 more months.
Do we think we're gonna use it all that in the next 4 months?
Probably.
Probably. Okay.
Well, the projection is 33,882, so budget's not saying we're gonna spend it.
We may not, but I think as we talked about earlier, like, not all the categories are necessarily in alignment, and so really the best thing to focus on is the bottom lines of like what we're reverting, and then in the fund condition, what our appropriation is and what our revenue is. Because these just don't get adjusted on a year-to-year basis. So it's just something that staff works with budget each year to understand how we can move the
And
money
yet
around.
there's
within
no
our budget.
reason to use the money if we don't need to at the same
Right.
time, because it goes into our fund.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, anything we don't spend that we have authority to goes into it's part of the reversion, as Luke said. And so it's really like a checking account and savings account. The checking account is what the legislature and the governor have authorized us to spend in the budget, and then we have more in our savings. We can't spend it, so this
Yeah.
money we don't spend goes back to the savings. So it's there and built into our monthly reserve.
So follow-up question, at one point, there was a big hit for some transition of software or something. So these numbers do not reflect any one time, these are, every year, we're gonna allocate the 240 or close to it, right?
Right, those aren't the costs for what we call business modernization when we switch to the Connect system. So we do have we'll provide follow-up information to the committee about what we spent total on Connect or business modernization. Budgets is updating some numbers for us because I found some from a few years ago that had projections, so they're just gonna verify the actuals. Just so members have that information. So
That's
it's
great.
not a large ongoing cost that it was when it was 2 years of high cost to implement, and then maintenance and operations, which we're sort of winding down now.
Okay,
But then that got built, it doesn't show as a separate line item.
thank you.
And that is spread across different categories too,
Right.
right? So if you look at the information technology, it's the 4th line up, right, from the bottom of that bigger box.
Mhm.
But, the IT involves contracts and different aspects, so that IT, the reason why it takes so long to code it is because it's in different areas of our budget. So not necessarily all in IT, it's like, oh, this is all BizMod, it's kind of dispersed in different places, so budgets has to go through and kind of like pull everything out. Does that make
Okay.
sense? Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
And we can see those, Susan, we can see those in the document that we've been given. This breakout is of like 5346, information technology has
Right.
those
Okay.
categories. Okay. Yes.
Patricia Trout. So how many months are we supposed to have, like a surplus? Is it like a 12 months or, I'm just curious. I recall kind of discussing this before.
Yes.
Yes, it fluctuates, but we typically aim for about 12 months in reserve. It can be a little high, so it really depends, but usually I think historically the committee has been between 9 and 10, so that's kind of the target of what we're shooting for.
And what kind of surplus do we have currently based on?
So as of this report, the committee has 12 and a half months in reserve.
So if, I just kind of recall in the past, if you get too much of a surplus, in the past, we've lowered the cost to get a license. So,
We did do that previously several years ago. We had a temporary fee reduction, which, looking back, 2020 hindsight was not a good choice. So, yeah, it would have to get pretty high, I think, before we would consider that again.
Yeah, the statutory limit is 24 months, so.
thank you.
John Roshinsky?
Yeah, John Roshinsky here. I'll start with the expenditure projection report. And I've got 4 questions on it. On the first, The first one, permanent positions, it looks like the projection, at least right now to the end of the year, is gonna show roughly a 16,000 deficit. Is there any particular reason or why those extra expenses are happening during the year? Do we know?
Positions is tied to the general roster, and so kind of like Laura said earlier, we really kind of focus on the bottom line. So if you see something go over on the balance side of it, it's not necessarily a concern. So long as that bottom total, the overall net total is in the positive, then we're good.
Right, but I'd still like to know, I mean, if there's things that are happening, as a committee member, I'd like to know what those are. So on that one, I'll move on. The next one is item 5324, facilities. And last fiscal year, we ended up with a big deficit on that one, and it looks like just based on what the projection is showing for this year, we're gonna be in deficit again on that. And I think the question that I brought up previously is, if this is a consistent thing from year to year, why isn't just the original budget estimate for the year, why isn't that being increased to cover that expense?
So I can let Luke give maybe a better answer than I would, but it's just, it kind of gets back to all the categories in our budget are sort of out of alignment, and it's not an easy thing to update, and it's kind of a process with Department of Finance to look at realigning all the line items for LEPC and then going through that process. So while it may happen at some point in the future, it's not something I think that's easily done. So it's just, we just sort of know that they don't all necessarily match up, but looking at how we can shift funding around, we know that, you know, what our total amount is that we can spend. And so we just shift it within those categories.
Okay.
And you're allowed to do that. I mean, you're allowed, as long as you are
The bottom
up
line.
back again, as long as we're hitting that bottom line and ending up with a surplus there. This
Right. Or
thing
we're not in a
kind of
deficit
doesn't
there.
care how we use what we've been allotted to some extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I right
Is
in
that
that summary,
correct?
Luke?
Yes, that's correct. Yes. We're really just targeting that bottom line, and you know, if we were to try to change something, we would have to submit that every single year. So we really just kind of focus on that bottom line.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my primary concern is there's line items that we have some control over, and then there's others that we have no control over whatsoever. And that definitely affects our fee structure. So that's my primary concern on those. Moving on to the analysis of fund condition, I just have a question. I'm looking specifically at the expenditures for the state operations here, and tying that in with the notes down here where it says expenditure growth projected at 3% beginning in on year +1. I did a little calculation here looking at what those expenditures were for last year, the current year, and looking at the by-years. And the growth of those two are well beyond the 3%. As a matter of fact, from last fiscal year to BY +1, for both of those, well, for one, it's a 49% growth, and for the other one, it's a 66% growth. So I'm just curious why those state expenditures, the pro rata that we're feeding, is increasing by such a huge amount.
So you're referring to 24-25 to 25-26?
Well, I'm looking at, well, let's see, for the Department of Consumer Affairs state operations, I show from last year to this year, it's a 20% increase.
Mhm.
And for the pro rata portion, from last year to this year, it's a 37% increase.
Mhm.
Which is well beyond the statement here that it's gonna be roughly 3% growth. So I'm just curious, because that's
Yes.
obviously something that we have absolutely no control over.
So the 3% is built into budget year and budget year plus one. The 425, 25, 26 are based on, and so the 3% is kind of what our universal formula that we build into it to account for that ongoing increase. But there's several other factors that could cause it to increase or decrease. 3% is just kind of that middle ground that we use in order to conservatively, project for that.
Okay. All right, and then lastly, I just had a question on the revenue projection report. Looking at delinquent fees, it looks like projected to year end. Are we seeing licensees just not paying their renewal fees? And would that be maybe because they're waffling whether to renew or not? Because I guess one question I had is with the fee increase, I'm assuming that we're not getting as many licensees renewing as we would in the past. And even though our revenue is slowly increasing, that's due more to the amount of the fee rather than the number of licensees.
So your question is,
Are we losing licensees?
I had some
because-
data from the last meeting that I talked about the number of licensees that aren't renewing. I don't have it off my head, but I could look it up in our minutes. I think it's in the minutes. But there does appear to be some folks that just are opting not to renew. When we did that analysis looking at date of birth and kind of age. And I'm relatively new in the position, a couple of years in, so I don't have that historical context, but I do feel like on a regular basis, there's somebody asking, oh, I'm late, do I have to pay the late fee, you know, I seem like I get a number of those.
Yeah, I do remember Kim talking about it at maybe the prior meeting, so we can see this in the minutes. If not, we can put it maybe in the program manager report, just like the renewal numbers, if you want that data going forward, so.
What would that number, what would it be, like renewal?
I guess you would want to look at renewals maybe, and we have peak and off-peak years. Yeah, so maybe 2 or 3 years worth of.
But I think you should also be looking at the out-of-state people that are considering, since we're working hybrid, there's a lot of people out of state working in California doing projects here. They carry a license in California. You might want to look at, see how many people are not renewing from out of state because of costs. I mean, we're winning when it comes to how much we're paying in fees.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see what we can easily track through Connect. Yeah.
Yeah, and does staff, when someone chooses not to renew, does staff reach out and inquire with them why they're not doing it?
We haven't, but that's on our to-do list, actually, just to kind of send a little, hey, you know, like, you're late, kind of just to
Are you-
see.
You're sending in it.
Yeah, we wanted to kind of nudge them a little bit.
Yeah, okay. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
I got a question.
Yes.
So Patricia touched on, this is Marty Armstrong, Vice Chair. Patricia touched on what is the ideal number for reserves, and we're looking at the historical data that was provided in the provisional notes that shows, I mean, we fluctuated from 18 to the current 12.9. But at the same time, we're looking at the past 3 years trends and the projected trends in an upward trend. So our reserves are increasing, and I know that's a good thing from a funding standpoint. But to go back onto her point, have you looked I think we brought it up before, bring our annual renewal fees down. Maybe our initial license fees stay the same. You touched on the initial license has been fixed, but if we brought, our renewal fees from 700 back to 600, we're taking 14% hit. 14% hit would generate a little over 900,000 in renewal fees every year, with the potential of that being roughly just under 11 months of reserve. So that would still put us in a pretty good comfort zone, above 10 months. Do you feel like that would be something we should be considering, bringing that down? Because, we're talking about revenue, and when we're trying to get people to renew, when we're seeing people saying, no, it's too expensive, we've kind of set the precedent that we're not moving, we're not considering it. But if we can look and see what those numbers might be, how impactful that might be, I don't think it's gonna ruin our operating fund.
So I'll
Yeah.
interject or answer maybe,
Yeah.
and Luke, you can correct me if I go off topic, but just looking at the historical, at the fund condition, it hasn't been that long that it's been over the 12-month period, and because of the size of the budget, it is kind of subject to, it doesn't take very much to make it drop down, essentially, because it's not a large number. So staff can look and try to run a projection. I don't know that we would want at this point to move forward with it, but we can certainly run a projection of what the impact would be if we reduce it to 600 and bring that back to the committee so you have the information.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That would be great.
Patricia Trout. I don't know if we could talk about it, but, the person that spoke in the beginning of our meeting, about a retired fee, a retirement fee. I'd be kind of curious to know, like, what's the percentage that's less, like, for architects? Because you do have
The fee?
Yeah.
The Architects Board has a retired license fee. I believe we just changed the fee to $100. It was quite a bit lower, and then we
And it
lost a
caused
lot
some
of
budget
money.
problems, correct?
Yes, it caused a severe budget problem for
issues.
the board. So I don't remember offhand how many retired licenses the board has, but we can send that information too, so you can kind of see it percentage-wise how many. Just we have quite a few that retired, because the board didn't retire licenses for a couple of years while we established the fee, and then there was sort of a pent-up demand, and it was a big revenue hit to the board.
And if,
Because it's a one-time fee to retire, obviously.
and if practitioners go into that status, they can go active again as long as they renew at the regular license fee, is that correct?
I think they can reinstate for 5 years, which is the typical time period, but they would have to pay all delinquent fees. There's no CE here, so just all fees that they missed. So
Okay.
you can't essentially retire your license for a couple years as a way to skip out on fees and then reinstate it.
Retroactively back, yeah,
All right.
to make right on fees they would have paid to keep their license, yeah.
I kind of remember you said that architect board lost like $1 million.
$1 million,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's currently $150. I think
$150,
we
okay.
raised it from.
It was 40,
40.
which was too low, yeah. It used to be the same as the renewal fee at the time was 300, and so we dropped it to 40. Just the board choice, and now it's at 150.
So is this something that for the next agenda, you could bring back? We have, so many new a year, we have so many, that would be the renewal to address kind of what Marty was saying was, if you renew, it's lower by 100 or something like that, so that we could evaluate that, because I think the fee is becoming an obstacle.
So we can give you, you want to know how many licenses we issue a year, we can do that, and we can look at what it would be. We can kind of do our best guess projection of what it would be if we dropped the fee to $600.
Yeah, we did a birth date run, so we looked at the date of birth, and that's how we got those numbers from before, just kind of made some assumptions about maybe potential age of retirement
Yeah.
on that last one.
Oh, if people were to retire. Yeah,
Yeah,
that one's
I
harder to project, so I would just,
Yeah, I don't know how fiscal, what they looked
Yeah.
at, we just kind of made some assumptions about age of retirement.
Yeah.
To kind of.
we can maybe look at the percentage of have licensees that are retired and try to like
Mhm.
take that percentage and apply it to LATC licenses. So we'll see what we could do.
As a percentage, yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
And I would say in the state of California, what we're seeing, what ASLA chapters in California are seeing is a declining membership population. A lot of people becoming emeritus in the ASLA.
The wave is coming.
The wave is coming, so, like Laura was saying, we want to be mindful, we have a large population of people that could be entering that retirement end of things, so if we do that, I think we would want to be as realistic as possible. I think our profession tends to work well past maybe a typical retirement age, I don't know what that is anymore, really. It seems like everybody works forever.
So it's a little hard for me to distinguish which one is which, but I do want to say, like, on budgets, they're going through like kind of the numbers in the documents to discuss like license fees, license changes, what we want to do as a committee regarding that stuff is beyond kind of what budgets
Understood.
chats about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think this
I
would be
think we're
excellent to
responding
put on
to,
a
yeah, we're just
future
responding
agenda.
to their funds in reserve and it
Yeah,
went
that's what I'm
off on
saying.
it.
It's
And we
kind
went
of
off on
wandering off.
a little tangent there.
So
Thank
yeah,
you for
because
keeping us in
absolutely,
line.
because our poor budgets division.
He's
has
still
no
sitting
organized-
Sorry, Luke.
No, no worries.
You love us so much, you want to just hang out with us all day, don't you? Okay,
Of course.
with that, did you want to say something, Luke? Sorry.
Yeah, just to add to Laura's point that the months in reserve only just last year hit 12 months, and then you can see at the bottom of the fund condition, it stays pretty static. It hits 13 months in budget year, but then stays within that 13-month range. So it is a very slow growth. The months in reserve is, the months that the committee could operate if no more revenue came in tomorrow. So not a single more dollar came in. So reducing that savings, reducing the licensee fees, it will reduce very quickly.
Yeah, we saw that once. We want to be mindful of that in the future. Thank you for that point, Luke. I want to say thank you for adding the previous months in reserve balance and going back to the 2019-2020. That really helps us to sort of see the trends and remind us of some of the troubles that we faced. So I think that's super helpful for us. Thank you for doing that based on last meeting's request. If there are no other questions from the members, I will turn it over to public comment. Moderator, could you please open for public comment?
This is the moderator. If you would like to make a comment, please click on the raise hand icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen. And if you're a dial-in public member, you may press *3 to raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. I see no comments. I turn the floor back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, moderator. Okay, Luke, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for answering our questions, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are in item G, review, discussion, and possible actions to approve the January 30th, 2026 LATC meeting minutes. First off, members, are there any comments on the meeting minutes?
I have one.
Okay.
Yeah, I just need a point of clarification on item D under the DCA updated discussion. About halfway down, there was a statement here that Ms. Lucciarelli shared that renewal fee postponements from the Palisades fire are resuming as of January 26th. Was that they were beginning, that those deferments or whatever were postponements were starting in January 26th or ending in 2026? I'm a little confused about that.
I think they had given people, they had giving people that were affected by the fires the ability to not pay for renewal. And so my understanding is that January 2026, those are reinstated to be, you have to start paying your
Yeah,
fees
okay.
again,
Okay,
your licensing fees.
yeah, that was the only thing.
Yeah, and I think since we're on the subject, it should probably say Palisades and Eaton fires or, Los Angeles fires, but I think it covers everybody because Eaton fire victims got, right? Yeah.
And I think the Northern California fires, we had given relief during those as well, if I'm not mistaken.
And COVID and, other emergencies. Anything else, John?
The only other question I had in that same paragraph there was the issue on travel restrictions on out-of-state travel. And I know that we're else in the meeting to ask this question, but are those restrictions still in place?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Okay. Any other member questions on the meeting minutes? Okay. Moderator, can you open for public comment, please?
Of course, this is the moderator. If you would like to make a comment on agenda item G, you may look for the raise hand icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen. And if you are a call-in public member, you may press *3 to raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. See no comments, I return the floor back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the January 30th, 2026 LATC meeting minutes.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, John Rudzinski has moved. May I have a second?
Second.
Susan Landry seconds. I was out of order legal. Do I need to open for public comment again?
It's always a good time for public comment.
Isn't it?
But yeah,
though?
prior to a vote, we do have to open for public comment.
Yes,
Although,
yes,
didn't we ask for public comment and then we?
I just asked for public comment ahead of the vote, which was out of order.
But it was
Ahead of the motion.
ahead of the motion. Okay,
It
that's
was
what I was
ahead,
asking.
it was
Thank you.
ahead of the motion.
Okay.
Sorry, not out of order. The wrong legal,
Okay.
that's a legal term. Sorry.
yeah.
Yes.
Open it back up.
We are
just to
not
be
out of
sure.
order. I would like to open it up for public comment again, please.
Hi, this is the moderator. If you would like to make a comment on the motion, please click on the raise hand icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen. Or if you're a call-in public member, you may press *3 to raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. See no comments, I turn the floor back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, moderator.
Welcome.
I'd like to ask for additional member comments, if any. Mr. Vice Chair, can you take a roll call vote, please?
Absolutely. John Rudzinski,
Aye.
Susan Landry,
Aye.
Patricia Trout. Aye. Pamela Brief,
Aye.
and I, Marty Armstrong, aye.
We have
That's
unanimous agreement on the meeting minutes have been approved. We are jumping on to the program manager's report. Ken McDaniel.
Hello, I'm happy to be sharing information with you, the program manager's report that's contained in your packet. First thing is that the Architects Board held their meeting, and thank you, Chair, for attending that meeting.
Welcome.
And that was February 2026. And their next meeting is a couple of weeks, so after ours, May 21st. The strategic plan, you can see is where we are in terms of our goal completions. And I had to laugh because when I looked at the last minute and I asked Heather, I said, these look exactly the same. So that kind of prompted me to go and look at the details, and we're only a year in and we're actually really ahead of ourselves, when I started looking at what we were supposed to do in 06, 2026. And so some of those things take a little bit more time. Like we had something on there about the sunset report, having the sunset report on there. That's not going to happen until we get much closer. So that one just kind of stays incomplete and not touched. And so you probably, if you had an observation that they look very similar, they do, but it doesn't mean we're not working. So I wanted to point that out because I had that question myself. Staff did a presentation in April at UC Berkeley, and so we're trying to do those presentations not only in the fall when the semester opens, but to invite the professors and the deans to have us show up in their spring classes as well. And so some of the universities and programs are taking us up on that offer, so we're doing more of those presentations. The website updates, we just continually update with the new meeting minutes, things that DCA asks us to do, just more kind of daily operational stuff. There's nothing extraordinary except for updating our meeting today. We had to move the room, so that'll be on there. Social media, Heather continues to be extraordinary in her efforts to transform how we engage with our stakeholders, our students, professionals, and the public. And so again, just to commend you on your work. She's recognizing that different groups utilize different platforms and more, like professionals are more interested in LinkedIn, right? The students are more excited probably about Instagram,
Yes.
right? And so picking, information that speaks to those individuals, reposting CLARB, test-taking tips on Instagram, if you're, and just kind of targeting that outreach and getting a little more refined. So I'm excited and just really appreciate your efforts in that area. I'm gonna hop back to the strategic plan because on the meeting minutes, there were 2 items I forgot to touch on. One was we were gonna share information on just the continued communication with CAB. And so as I mentioned, the chair attended CAB's meeting, so we always try to have somebody there, and typically we'll have somebody from CAB join our meetings, and that is part of our ongoing efforts. When we did our first newsletter, we had to partner with the Architects Board quite a bit to just understand the process and what we were supposed to do. So we definitely collaborate behind the scenes as well as you see us in the meetings. And then our enforcement analyst extraordinaire, Gloria, she works very closely with CAB's enforcement too. They have more staff than we have. Gloria does this all on her own. And so when we need some additional expertise, we partner with CAB and kind of pick their brain a little bit. So we do collaborate with them quite a bit. And same thing, Heather's new and she's working on our regs. We have a couple of regs we're trying to push through. So we work with Tim, who's the CAB regulations manager, to make sure that we're following the process. So there are lots of opportunities where we communicate and, I wouldn't say increasing efficiencies because we have our budget and that kind of is, but we're working smarter, not harder. Right? And then the second strategic plan thing is was research ways to better prepare candidates for professional licensure. So, we have to be very careful because that's not what we do as a state entity. However, we do have some ways to utilize the resources that we have to address that item. And so one was increasing the number of presentations, right? So making sure that students actually know there is a license and just sharing with them because, they're like, oh, if the universities, one in particular, may not even be sharing that information, right? They're just trying to get the graduates, get the people in and didn't even realize that there would be a pathway for licensure. So that's very advantageous. And then, like I said, we've been utilizing social media to just repost some stuff from CLARB, making our own. It's like, hey, eat a nutritious breakfast, stay hydrated or whatever, stay away from energy drinks, those kinds of things. And then I mentioned last time that we added some expired or retired test items to the CSC handbook. And I did send that to you guys maybe about 2.5 weeks ago. Hopefully you received it. If not, I can send it again. You guys are looking at me like, okay.
We are looking at you like during headlight, that might be a resend.
Yeah, let me resend. I put it in red. So we did add those. And again, just even having the opportunity to kind of see, can help relieve some test anxiety and help people do better on the test. And then, again, I talk about reposting the CLARB information a little bit more on Instagram to get students prepared and, to just kind of rally behind them and support them in their pathway towards licensure. So let's see, where are we? We did social media. And we do have that one regulatory proposal that moved forward through CAB to align with our records retention from changing 3 to 5 years. And that one's still in the process. And so,
Okay.
yeah, it's still illegal. They're still reviewing that change. And so, you know, they take time. You know, we usually try to give ourselves a couple years to do our regulatory proposals. So it really does take some time, and there's lots of state actors involved in the process to review that. And then we have our program data for the CSE. We can see how those numbers look for by candidate type in tables A and B. And then we have the landscape architect registration exam data as well. And then the comparison in table D, I'll let you review those. And then our enforcement data, again, Gloria, you did a great job. You've learned a lot, and I just appreciate you learning everything that you learned so quickly. And our enforcement data is on page 5. So pretty consistent numbers that we received. I think, is there another page? That's it. So we need questions or, yeah.
Let me open it up to questions
Yeah.
from the members. John Roshinsky.
Susan was first.
Oh, Susan Landry. Okay. I saw it, I was just going
Okay,
this
well,
way.
that's fine. Go ahead,
I
John.
was
Go for
just
it.
picked John.
Start in order. Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see here. I have my first question is on social media, and I just want to say that I think it's great. I think we're finally seeing a lot of responses to our efforts in that, which I think is a really good thing. But I have a question in regards to when we post to Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever. Do we know, does the system recognize like what type of information that is and then link it or send it to people that identify with that interest in?
I think the algorithm does connect it,
Okay,
and we've
So-
gotten our following up a lot to include not just licensed landscape architect, but also those that are in the field, maybe designers, students. So
okay,
there's a blend on both LinkedIn and Instagram now.
okay. Okay, that's good. And what does it actually take to feed that information in there? Are you just posting to the LATC?
To the LATC.
Yeah, the logarithm stuff is all internal within
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
within Instagram or whatever. Nobody
Yeah.
affects that except for the company.
okay. And do we, when we post, does that include keywords?
I don't know if it does.
Identify that? Because I always notice, like, most of the time when you go and you look at something, it'll have keywords or subject words or something in there as a way of attracting interest. All right, let's see. I do have a couple questions in regards to the exam data. I'm happy to see that it looks like our success rate is slowly increasing from year to year as far as that goes. And I hope that's because the candidates are taking it more seriously and preparing themselves. But one question that I had, and this is primarily looking at the CSE, is there any analysis that's done looking at the questions on the exam? Are there particular subject areas that seem to be giving the candidates more trouble? I mean, if they're missing questions, is it in a particular subject area or something like that? I'm just curious. And I don't know if even if any of the staff actually looks at the exam and what those areas might be, but if necessary, it might be nice to reach out to whoever could provide that information. Because I think it potentially also applies to the national exam as well. Because looking at the recent results on that, I was kind of surprised to see that, looking at the 4 sections on the national exam, that we're basically at par now on grading and drainage, which is always like one of the most difficult sections, but it looks like we're kind of even now on the national average on that. And I was really surprised that on inventory analysis and project management, that pass rate on that was only half the California candidates. And that's, if there's one section that should be kind of a no-brainer, that's the one. But also looking at construction documentation and administration, that seems to be an area that continues to be kind of a difficult one for our candidates. And I know that in the recent Clark Spring meeting, there was talk that they are starting to do a much more thorough analysis of the test results and things like that. And I asked in that meeting if that information would be available to the jurisdictions, you know, to look at their own candidates and how they're doing. And they basically said not at this time, so I don't know what the holdup is. But anyway, I think if there are particular areas of concern or anything like that, Matt at Clark said that if we want to send them a message just saying these are particular areas that we think are important to look at, that they would entertain that. So, let's see, and then the last thing is on the enforcement actions. I think we're seeing a lot of improvement on that. And what I mean by that is we're actually seeing citations now, which I think were pretty rare in the past. So I'm happy to see that we're able to establish that, yes, there are violations that deserve that. And I think anytime that we have to go through sunset, that's definitely an area that they like to look at, you know, that we're serious about helping to protect the public. So that's everything that I have.
Great, thank you. I was just going to comment on your one of your items about looking at the subject areas that may be giving test takers trouble. You know, I can reach out to OPES and ask them, because, you know, they do item analysis, and, you know, look if there's something that everybody gets wrong, you know, they'll pull that out, you know, in the next exam cycle. But I can just ask if they have anything that they could share that's.
Yeah, I'm just curious, you know, not being able to see the exam. I don't have any way of knowing, you know.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I can pass it anymore, you know.
Right.
Please don't say that.
Yeah. I'll check.
Yeah, just kind of building on that, in the past, and this was relatively recently, like maybe the last 2 or 3 years, might have been before. But we kind of break down from, you know, the where the licensee, where they went to college. And so, you know, it was kind of insightful for Cal Poly Pomona.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, that'd be nice to know as well.
You want to say that next time? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll add that.
And then I just had a question. This is number 2 about finding ways to continue increasing efficiencies. So I'm just kind of throwing it out to staff. I mean, you guys, do you have any suggestions on how we could be more efficient? I'm just kind of curious. Because, you know, as committee members, you know, you're in the trenches kind of day to day. So I was just curious if, you know.
we can always come up with efficiency ideas. I would tell you the only way to see any significant savings for the LHC budget is a reduction in staff, because that is where most of the salaries go. So as long as there is a desire for the program to continue to operate the way it does, you won't see significant savings.
Very good, thank you.
Susan Landry.
I'll go back to the comment made about the test. Prior to being on the board, part of how I got on the board was I did sit to help write the exams. And there was one point where we did take a test exam, and all us older ones were like 60% passing, and all the newer ones out of college were like 80%. So that was, I think, part of why I always wanted continuing education.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to go to the enforcement. And one specific question on page 5, Corey Brooks. It says on page 6, respondents stamp construction documents for a project without his name, license, or stamp appearing in the contract. So are you saying he had issued a contract and he didn't put his license number in there, or that he didn't stamp? I didn't know you had to stamp your contract.
You don't have to stamp the contract, but the licensed landscape architect information has to appear in the contract.
Right.
And these two individuals, they're from the same company, that's why, I don't know.
So it's just saying like none of the identifying information that was required, like, because the stamp would have the license number, so that's one way it could appear in the contract, just to say that it's not there at all.
Oh, so these are the same?
Yeah, Mr. Brooks is an employee of Miss Franklin. She's the owner of the firm, but Brooks's information wasn't in the contract. That's why, so the complaint was against Miss Franklin through the investigation. It was an internal decision to issue to issue a complaint, to open a complaint against the landscape architect. So
okay.
They're related. Those two complaints are related.
Okay. I will say I have turned in people. There are garden designers that are out there, I think, violating our license about drawings.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them were turned down and said they did not violate it. So at the end of the meeting, I was going to put a potential topic regarding that. But I have turned people in, and
Yeah, we should add that to the next.
yeah, and add that, because I'll bring that up at the end then. Okay, thank you.
We're not able to, if somebody like sends us a name, unless there's like a contract, or, you know, it's just like a word of mouth, right? And so it's when we get a contract, we can move, right? So even if somebody, you said you turn somebody in and it's usually about a website, they're using the term landscape architect, and, you know, we do reach out on all of those, and once you wanna.
Yeah, I would say, so sort of broadly speaking, right, the point is to have people in compliance with the law. So in this case, because there was a complaint filed and there was, it looks like probably consumer harm, it resulted in a citation. If we get a complaint like that where there's a potential that we've seen some advertising, I don't know the specifics of the ones you're referring, but I see these for the board and for LATC, that we contact the person, they make the corrections to their LinkedIn profile, their advertising on the website, et cetera. If they come into compliance, we'll give them like a letter of advisement, and then we will do some, checking follow-up 6 months to a year and make sure they're still in compliance. But we don't issue a citation for every
case.
Every case, yeah.
Right, I literally submitted the drawings that someone was drawing and said they're violating their license, and both of them were turned down. I'm gonna bring this up again at the end.
Okay.
But I am finding it, because I am doing more smaller residential, that there is a lot of people who basically are violating, what I think violating it, so I'll bring that up.
Let's bring it up for next
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Marty?
Hey, Kimberly, so you've got an outreach effort, and by all means, I think this whole board can benefit from your outreach, and we're gonna see the benefits of it. My question is, you went to UC Berkeley. Is there a reason why we can't hold our meetings along the lines of your outreach efforts?
You hold them there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious, it just seems like it would benefit our
We
exposure.
have done that in the
Yeah.
past, and we did talk about doing
We try
that
to do like once a
again.
year.
Okay.
Mhm.
The last one was at Merritt.
At
Yeah, Merritt, yeah,
So
that was
we
awesome.
try to
Yeah.
do once a year, we weren't able to get a meeting this time. Berkeley has just turned us down, they're just like, we don't do that, if we did it for you, they're political, right? If we did that for you, then we'd have to do it for everybody, and, we don't need protesters, so they've already told me, like, we can't do that.
Okay.
I think,
Some schools are more welcoming than others. We have a
USC.
lot more success at the community colleges than.
yeah, but USC, I think, is on board,
Yeah.
they would be okay. Davis, for sure, now that we have some contacts there, we were trying for Davis, but, it's graduation, commencement,
Yeah,
finals, like it was.
although we had one at UC Davis a couple years ago and they gave us a facility, but then they didn't have anyone there to present and there weren't any students, so it's
Yes.
sort of like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
a waste
that
of
was
trip,
weird.
so.
Yeah,
Remember that?
so it is on our radar.
So the second part of the question is, can you bring me the schedule that you have forecasted so we can discuss it at the next meeting to see if there might be an opportunity
Our outreach.
to do that for a next meeting or a future meeting? I don't know, just seems like we would all benefit
We
from
would.
getting that exposure, really. I mean, when you got new candidates, a lot, who's LATC? It's just,
I know in the past, I've done two. Instead of staff going out, I did one at Cal Poly Pomona, staff was on Zoom, but I was there, and then I did one at Berkeley, similar to what they were doing. And I enjoyed going, and I thought it was great for me, so late in the career to see kind of what was going on at the colleges. But I thought it was great that you guys had invited me twice already to do that.
So can I clarify, are you asking us to share our outreach, like when we're doing one, or are you asking us to do the presentation with the group?
I think we should have this particular meeting in conjunction with your outreach effort. So there's a dual effort at one campus for that type of exposure.
Kind of like Merritt.
Exactly, just what we did at Merritt.
Oh, exactly what
That's
we did at
exactly what-
Merritt.
Yeah.
And we have met at Cal Poly Pomona in the past.
Not in the 8 years I've been on.
Really? Okay.
No, because when I went, I hadn't been there for 40
I
years.
just said the past.
Way past, Pam, way past. Before my time, right?
Andy Bowden was there. I attended, I remember.
Oh
I
my
remember
God,
it being there.
Yeah.
I was alive. I know that. I know that.
But being
So,
a
yeah,
new year, I
opportunities.
don't know what we've done in the past, but I think as we move forward, Merritt was a great exposure opportunity.
Yeah, it really was.
And I think, we can look at the list and say no to all of them, which is
Yeah.
fine, but at least we're looking at it.
We tried for this one.
We did. We tried to get ourselves in at a college and it didn't work out schedule-wise.
Thanks for all the data. I mean, that's analysis paralysis there, but it's great. It's good information.
Yeah, it is
is.
good. It is good.
And I just want to say thanks for the newsletter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
We're working
It's
on
very-
the next
You're working on a new one?
Really nice.
So consider writing an article for what, on your area of expertise, or if you know a student or something. I mean, we really want to use that as a way to, get people excited to do opportunities.
Mhm, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, are we good? My turn.
Oh, no.
So thank you for the information on the admin, the outreach, everything you're doing, the licensing enforcement, and like you said, Kimberly, across the board, you and all of staff are doing a tremendous job, so thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Everything that you're presenting is very clear as well. Thank you for the format that you're using. When we talk about the strategic plan with this, so item 4.1, when we talk about communication with CAB, I know last time when I was at the CAB meeting, Ron the president, had said that he had just attended the DCA leadership training, I believe is what it's called, something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I attended it subsequently. He was talking about perhaps a time, I don't know, is there anyone from CAB on today? Do we have?
No, Tian was not able to attend,
Okay.
and Tian is actually terming off the board. He's at the end of his grace period,
Oh,
so
is
we will
he?
not see him
Oh,
again,
no.
which is a loss to the board. So
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, but yeah, typically we have some.
Okay, Ron had mentioned perhaps, speaking to you about, a time when maybe, he and I could, every once in a while have a meeting. I don't know if he approached you on that, but he talked to me about that during the meeting when we were in, Palm Desert.
Okay, I'll send both of you a follow-up.
Okay,
Yeah.
that would be great, thank you. I know everybody's busy and all of that, but he was excited about that and I appreciated the gesture, so I'd like to, if we could keep that going, I think that would be great. And then that would be certainly, continuing communication. I think the more we have back and forth and, the better. So, and then, ways to better prepare, as you said, Kimberly, that is not necessarily our job here at LATC, but we certainly, we feel that the more licensees there are out in the state, the better service that is to the health, safety, and welfare of consumers, that there's more choice is certainly better. So in that regard, we have a vested interest in those that are taking the exam succeeding. So I think this is a great item for our strategic plan. I think the social media posts about that, don't caffeine out and then come to a test strung out is always good advice, not to have too much caffeine. But those sorts of helpful hints are great. I appreciate the exam candidate handbook. I think those sorts of things definitely address that. So I think, you've been attacking the strategic plan in a very aggressive and deliberate manner, and I appreciate that. So thank you very much. The breakdown on colleges, I would love to see that again too. So if we could bring that back, that would be great. I'm actually very pleased, as John was talking about, with the percentages of pass fails, to see that the construction document end of things is getting such a high pass rate, because I think, from an errors of mission, responsibility, duty of care, it really falls within that category for licensees. So that our new licensees are coming out with a really strong sense of what that is and their responsibility in that realm makes me feel very good about protecting the health, safety, and welfare of our consumers. So your April meeting outreach, how did that go? Did the students present for what transpired?
We presented online for a mix of newer students and those that are getting ready to graduate. We answered a lot of questions about the licensure process and the different pathways. And they were mostly excited to get information on their next steps of what to do after they get their degree.
Okay, yeah. Job placement and that kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, job placement, how many hours they need before they can become licensed. Some were wanting different test preparation materials, asking if there were study groups. We mentioned the ACEL chapters to get connected. And also to follow the social media for testing dates. We do post about when the lair is open for registration. I think that was it.
That's great. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's great to see the people that have passed to present it on social media. That's fun, and it's great that we're congratulations, yay. And John, I know you're really good at following up. I see your comments. I'm not sure if anybody else does, but John seems to be first at Yay, congratulations. So, congratulations to you for being on it. You're on social media. And
No, I do have-
now that you've retired, you have more time for social media.
Oh, yeah. No, I do have one other question, in regards to looking at our candidates and that is there any way of seeing how soon candidates are, at least here in California, are applying for licensure, and the exam?
Yeah, you had asked that last time, I remember, and we're still working on that analysis.
Okay.
So we did the first piece of looking at within a 1-year time frame when candidates pass the LARE, what percentage of them are taking the CSE, and that's like in the 80-something%. But your specific question was about them passing, so we have to add that later on to it.
Yeah, and what I'm also curious about is how soon after graduation are the candidates applying for licensure and to take the exam? I mean, are they doing it right away? Are they holding off a year or two before they start that process? I'm curious, because I know Clark is really pushing for candidates to sit for the exam right out of school. I mean, the sooner the better.
Yeah, as soon as they're eligible.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. As members, I think we can influence those that are in our circles to join social media and help the numbers increase. Do our part to help out staff in their endeavor. I mean, I get a little extra bump because I have a bunch of students that I can call on for that. But to, colleagues and people within our circles, I mean, I think just, a lot of people don't know that that you can follow LATC. So the fact that you can and that there's useful information, we often hear from licensees when they are surveyed during our strategic plan that they wished we did more advocacy for the profession than we do. And so that tells us that they don't understand that we are not advocates for the profession, that our charge is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of those that are consumers of landscape architectural services, and we administer the exam. So the more licensees that follow, the more they start to see like what our charge really is, and that CCASLA is the advocacy arm. So I think that distinction is important, and the more, you can follow CCASLA too. I mean, the more you follow the specific entities, the more you understand the differences between ASLA, CCASLA, and LATC. So, and that knowledge is powerful. So that's my point. So thank you guys.
I have one more comment. Let's see.
Just came in, just like that.
It'll come back to me.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much. Thank you, Kim, for a great report and making yourself available for our regular meetings. We do discuss things in between, and so I've kept abreast of kind of how they're moving through, which is great. And thank you guys so much for everything you do.
Thank you.
I really appreciate
I
it.
remember.
Oh, you remember now? It came back? Okay, go.
Okay, so, I'm always.
Patricia Trell.
Patricia Trell. Always encouraging people to get licensed, of course, my staff and whatnot. And I'm just curious, like, when you're talking to students, if they're real clear on how to, how to apply. Because I heard about one person that applied with CLARB and they didn't think they had to apply like with the state. And I was like, we get a license from the state. So does that come up, or,
Yes, they're also that question, and then also the hours, tracking the hours and getting them signed off by another licensed landscape architect specifically in California. Going through that because some of them are in school and maybe already gaining experience. So we do have to lay out the specific and between the exams. Some of them have more knowledge on the national and California. Some were newer and did not know that you have to take the exams. We have to break down the cost of the exams, the cost to retake the exams because you have to repay to take each section that you don't pass. And some of that sometimes may seem overwhelming to them. And some of the feedback that we've gotten from the students, they are very nervous to test directly out right after they graduate. So the feedback from what we've gotten at UC Davis and Berkeley is they're waiting to test.
Thanks. It's more than $2,000, right? It's
like $575
to take the LARB, right? So
the sections.
could be a consideration, right? Coming out of school, like where am I gonna get that $2,000+ right?
And is that with or without experience during school? Understanding that they wouldn't qualify if they're not working at the time they're in school, they're not getting those hours.
Any of their experience after the age of 18 working under a licensed landscape architect counts. So if they are still in school, and it's calculated different based off of how many hours they're completing, part-time or full-time. So the pathway, sometimes we have to show them different pathways they can take depending on which institution they're at and how many years their degree qualifies for. But specifically documenting the hours of experience, and the form is in Connect. So making them familiar with the application system.
That process.
Yeah, everything that they'll be doing. And sometimes even after they're done passing the LAIR and the CSE, they forget to submit their initial license application. So just letting them know all of the different steps that they have to take. Even after they pass the exams, they still have to go to Connect and complete an initial license application.
Didn't we, I think we had a candidate that took the LARE and passed it, but they had never signed up in California, and so they couldn't count the fact that they passed. They had to take the LARE all over again, if I'm not mistaken, because they had never filed an application in California.
Well, that education is, so what I'm hearing also is that even if candidates are working during school and perhaps, maybe a year out of school or something, have all the hours that they need, they're still delaying their test taking process. What's the average time they wait, did they say? Or do you know?
They were saying that maybe they would be comfortable taking it a year or two after.
Yeah.
And they didn't say whether it was like test anxiety or the financial piece.
Yeah. Or a little of both, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. So thank you.
Yeah, the financial piece, I'm just kind of curious. So, could a person apply to take the test without being involved in CLARB? Or do they have to get, do they have to go through CLARB? Because that's another fee and everything.
So for the national exam, you have to go through CLARB and you have to register with LATC. The CSE is all done directly through LATC. And then for both, if you don't pass, you have to pay again to retest for each section of the LAIR. So those four, and I want to say it's like $575 to $585. They also have to maintain the CLARB Council record while they're testing, so that's an additional fee. And then the CSE side of things, and then the initial license fees. So I think the fees was a big part of it, and then also the testing side. Yeah.
It would be interesting to see how many candidates started the process and then just didn't complete it. If they fail once or twice or
they
something,
just give up.
because eventually it's just too expensive to keep going.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. I don't think, do we have that data? Anywhere? Okay.
I don't know that if CLARB tracks that data.
Yeah, I think they don't. I think we asked a long time ago for some data that they were not able to
I think if they did, we would have it right now, but
Yeah.
good try.
Okay, thank you. Again, thank you, everybody. Okay, we are at 11:45.
Did you open the public hearing?
Oh, no, I did not. Thank you, Ms. Landry. I would like to open for public comment.
Hi, this is the moderator. If you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, you may look for the raise hand icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen. And if you are a dial-in public member, you may press *3 to raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. I see no comments. I turn the floor back to you, Chair.
Thank you, moderator.
You're welcome.
We are at 11:45. Would, our next agenda item is about Zone 0. I think that might be a longer discussion item or just questions and discussion. So I'd like to suggest we break for lunch now. Can we take
Do you have the food
a
yet?
half hour? Is that enough time for everybody?
What we have?
Laura?
Yeah, we have.
Are you guys okay if we take a half
We
an
have.
hour for lunch? Sure. Or is that too little time?
Oh, no, that's plenty of time for us.
Okay, all right. Okay, we will adjourn for lunch and be back in 30 minutes. Resume the meeting. Vice Chair, would you mind taking roll call so we can establish a quorum, please?
No problem. John Luzinski,
Present.
Susan Landry,
Present.
Patricia Trout. Present. Madam Chair.
Present.
Thank you, and Marty Armstrong, not present.
Great, we have a quorum. We are on item I of the agenda, and that is an update on the Board of Forestry and Fire Protection Zone 0 meeting. The meeting occurred in April of this year, and a new draft rule plead was presented. It was distributed the week prior to the meeting. This news draft rule plead takes in a lot of the comments that were received from the public, organizations, and elected officials in response to the previous Zone 0 committee draft rules. This particular piece of legislation represents or suggests a two-phase approach instead of one phase, as was previously suggested. I'll just go over a little bit of the differences. So the phase 1 is within 3 years. The phase 2 is implemented within 5 years. You all have been given a packet that includes the actual draft rule plead and a summary of the draft Zone 0 regulation language. That summary, I think, does a really good job of breaking down the legislative language. It does give local agencies, local fire agencies, authorization for alternative practices based on their local variations. That was something that we had asked, that LATC had asked for in the letter that we sent prior. So they listened to that. There is information in the packet about trees. Trees are permitted in Zone 0, subject to maintenance within 3 years of adoption of the regulation. And that information is on page 3 of your document. I think the biggest thing of the new draft language is this, like 2 zones within the zone 0. There's a low combustibility zone, which extends from the face of the building or home, basically out to the eave, the drip line of the eave, or 1 foot, whichever is more. And a non-combustible safety zone located next to the home. Actually, I just got that wrong. I'm sorry. They flipped it here for me. The low combustibility zone is extending out from the safety zone, which is at the drip line of the house, out to the remaining portion of the 5 feet from the home. The non-combustible immediate safety zone is from the facade of the home or building to the extent, the outer portion of the eave. It has to be a minimum of 12 inches, but most eaves hang out more than that, so it would be the distance of it out to the edge of the eave. There's great illustrations on page 6 and 7 of the packet, which go into more information about that non-combustible safety zone and the low combustible zone. And it shows how trees can exist within this new regulation. So that basically covers, in my opinion, the big changes that happened from the last draft report. And we can open it up to questions and comments from the LATC members first. Susan Landry.
I will start. I have to say I'm somewhat disappointed in what they are allowing in Zone 0. One of the issues is the insurance companies are flying drones over houses, and if you have any tree overhang, they're not insuring you or telling you you have to take your trees out. So to me, there's a disconnect between what this says, and I don't care what you say, if you prune your tree and it's still overhanging your house, there's still, fires can drop and that kind of stuff. So I am somewhat disappointed. This is really geared to Zone 0, not Zone 1. And I'm currently having an issue right now in Los Altos Hills. Their interpretation of Wello is gravel is not allowed, even though Wello says it is allowed, and they need you to have wood bark. And they haven't gotten to clean up the wood bark provision for Zone 0, which says no wood bark. And my project may get turned down because I have a big disclaimer on there, landscape mulch restriction, no wood bark. And it's in right now.
Yeah, let's stick with this right now.
Yeah, so now this is great to have this come out because cities are not caught up yet with this. I really was hoping to see more about the Zone 1 versus Zone 0.
This is specific to Zone 0.
Yeah,
That's what
Zone
they've been
0.
asked to address by the governor. They've not been asked to address Zone 1. This regulation, and it's not to say that they won't, but this regulation is specific for Zone 0.
What's interesting though is they show examples and don't talk about that it's past the 5 feet, right? They're showing here's what you can do with lower landscape, and there's no discussion that's in the Zone 1. I think this is a good, it's getting there. What we saw in all these recent fires is the fire is not going to stay within the area on a fire map. And to me, if this house I'm working on is within 500 feet of the fire zone.
Yeah, very high fire.
Yeah.
Severity zone.
And the fire marshal sitting in a meeting saying you should still do these provisions of what you would do. You're only 500 feet from the city saying no, you still have to use wood. So cities do need to, now with this issuing, do need to catch up with this.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's one of the important points of this being, which potentially may be adopted in June by the Board of Forestry, I think getting something adopted sooner than later so that one, insurance companies, can't tell homeowners necessarily to remove all the trees if the state regulation is saying that certain things are allowed. I'll say to the tree issue, there's evidence in the Eaton fires and the Palisades fires of trees actually stopping some of the embers that were blowing. Now, we had a conflagration of fire, right? I mean, winds were blowing at 100 miles an hour. And it's not to say that these sorts of extreme fire events are not going to continue in our state, or this, certainly not to say that these were like one-off sort of fires, because some of the experts don't, think that this is going to be more the norm. There were cases of oaks, other trees stopping the embers and saving properties. So, some of the feelings on trees catch houses on fire have been disputed and scientifically proven. It's been peer reviewed and has in fact supported this, and then you see it firsthand. I'm closest to where the Eaton fire was, so I was able to see after that there were, in case, these situations where trees did save properties, or large hedges, or open green space adjacent to schools or areas where there was more open space, that it gave an area for the fire to slow down. So it was very tragic and amazing to see kind of how the fire flew through these neighborhoods. But this isn't perfect by any means. There's certain things that personally I would love to see a little different. I think the Board of Forestry did a very good job of taking everybody's comments and as much as possible finding a middle ground.
I have a comment. So, the first piece that kind of, explains, it's a summary of the legislation. They use a lot of terms that aren't, there's no definition. So it's like, like one is fire-prone areas. Well, what does that mean?
Where are you?
State responsibility areas. What does that mean?
State responsibility area is defined.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the definitions.
That's what I'm saying.
In the definitions of the regulation. I see what you're saying.
I mean, there's, there were a handful of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is, they have these nice images, but is there a map kind of identifying, does this apply to a typical single-family residence? Does it apply to commercial areas? It's very kind of housing-based.
Okay, so at the beginning of the actual regulation, it applies to the state responsibility areas, which are not like the urban areas of the state. Okay, it's a broader out in rural areas.
Right. Okay.
The LRA, which is the local responsibility areas, tends to be more near the urban cores. And this will apply to the very high fire hazard severity zones in the LRA. Okay, and new construction. Okay, but new construction immediately, as I understand, and this draft rule plea, and then the 3 or 5 year timeline for existing homeowners, if you are in that very high fire severity zone.
Is there, because the question that I have, my basic question was that, where does this actually apply to? Because my concern is that in the local responsibility areas, even though it spells out that it's only supposed to be in the very high hazard severity areas, my gut feeling is that local fire departments are gonna make this applicable everywhere, which is gonna be a huge problem.
There are a few spots in California where the city has come in already and established regulations. San Diego is one of those areas.
Yeah.
They have applied a much more rigorous set of rules than this is. That regulation aligns more with what came out of the Board of Forestry initially at the beginning of last year. And they have done a lot to listen to the community member, to listen to the public. And like I said, I think they've come to a reasonable middle ground. I think it requires some compromise on both sides of the people that want things very, very limited, like no planting at all, no trees, anything within that 0 to 5 foot area, and the people that see the value of that. As we drafted a letter, LATC drafted a letter saying that there was health, safety, and welfare issues if you take away all the trees and everything within that area because of the footprint in urban areas where from side yards to property lines is so minimal, even in front sometimes, right? In urban areas. So it was going to be a huge reduction in the tree canopy in the LA County area, huge. So that's where some of the pushback came from. Berkeley is another city that has taken on a more rigorous approach to the Zone 0 area. So it doesn't mean that cities won't react differently, but they have to at least follow this standard, and then they can use their local jurisdiction to sort of pattern it after what they know. And the argument for that was that the local fire agencies know their communities, right? So let them make those decisions.
Yeah, so Northern California, almost all the cities have a fire map now. And the city I'm working in currently, Los Altos Hills, the city manager put the whole city in the red zone and he got fired. And then they came back and, the homeowners that were say, hey, you can't put me in zone red, my property value goes down, my insurance won't insure me. So they've redrawn the map and they have the red, orange, and yellow. And then there's these areas like where we are, 500 feet, and the city's now trying to sort that out. Okay, so you're not technically in yellow or orange, but you're so close, the fire isn't gonna know to stop where the line on the map is.
The state has come, CAL FIRE has developed the map that this is based on. And after the Eaton and the Palisades fire, a lot more of LA County is now in very high fire safety hazard zones than was before. And so a lot more of the areas will be affected by this. Yeah. So,
Well, and it's
Is
gonna
there-
be expensive too, I was just looking at.
there
like,
is cost, yeah.
Yeah, so, the typical, side yard setback is 5 feet.
Mhm.
This thing is saying,
Right.
your gate can't,
Can't be
get
there.
within.
Mhm.
So, that's gonna be a
Yeah.
cost.
And you know what's interesting, they changed that. It said before, any wood within 5 feet. So if you had a 5-foot setback, your wood, good neighbor fence was in the 5 feet. Now they've clarified in here, it's the gate or the
Yeah.
portion.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
even though you're at the 5-foot line, a couple inches in, they're not saying now that you have to replace that fence. So
Right.
that is a change that they did.
Yeah, they've changed quite a bit.
Just a piece.
Are we, any other questions before I say something or ask something? You do, Marty? Oh, I'm sorry, you did. Patricia?
Yeah, but you go ahead.
No.
Well, I just had questions like, how would this get implemented and enforced?
Well, yeah.
That's where I'm going. So, I mean, they've got two different agencies. I mean, your initial plans are gonna go in for city review. I mean, that's easy with GIS, you've got those. But when you start getting into phase two, you're putting this in the hands of fire agencies. Because who's enforcing it? Are we now having inspectors coming through fire agencies? I mean, LA County Fire, they didn't send people out. I mean, but
Exactly.
they still were the enforcers of these fire zones that we're now trying to make for the whole state. So, I mean.
I think enforcement across the board, I mean,
They've
with
gotta
any,
reach
with
down to
any.
everybody. I mean, how's it gonna impact, the cost to operate this whole program? It's easy when we're talking about new development, but on the inspection and enforcement, is it gonna be our neighbors turning this in?
Most
And
likely.
then all of a sudden I mean, this is
Well,
the
they
chain
have-
reaction.
Yeah, they have talked about, I mean, and I think there's some, even in that one legislation that I was talking about, encouraging neighborhoods, like communities to work together, to say, how as, a few streets or whatever, how can we make our area as fire safe as possible? Now, here's the thing. Board of Forestry does not have jurisdiction over home hardening. And that is an important, crucial part of this as well, right? All we're looking at today is Zone 0, what the Board of Forestry has proposed so far. And my question for us is, we wrote a letter before saying that we were against several things. We wanted this, and this. They've come and really answered a lot of that and made this a lot better. Are we comfortable writing another letter to say we are in agreement with this as it stands, or perhaps as you're talking about with trees, would we feel better if maybe small twigs or small branches were not allowed within that 0 to 5 foot area above a roof, and maybe branches 3 inches and over were allowed, something like that with that slight modification, or not. I mean, I think my feeling is that they've met a lot of the conditions that we said we would feel comfortable with, and I would like to write a letter saying that to them. But if we, as a committee, don't feel comfortable with that, then we will not.
Yeah, what I see as an issue is, they talk about wood structures or wood fencing and that type of thing. They don't talk at all from a design standpoint about how you can treat those materials to harden them. They're just talking about it. If it's there,
Straight
you
up.
gotta rip it out and
Yeah.
put something else.
And that's where I think that's why the jurisdictional part of this was so critical, and that wasn't in the first regulation, really allowing our local fire departments or whoever has jurisdiction over us to say, yes, in your case, like, they would come out, let's say, John, your fence, and you say, I've treated it with this, here's the certification, here's this, here's that, and they'll say, oh, yeah, okay, fine, that's great. Same as you would to your insurance company. You would prove that you have a material that is less flammable. And I think that's why the jurisdictional part is so crucial to this. And to that point, given the person power that those agencies have, as with any new legislation, really, enforcement is always the big question, right? But that's not our problem today, right? Like, that's not LATC's problem. LATC's issue at hand is, do we feel that this makes enough of a compromise? Are we comfortable with it? With saying, we approve this,
Yeah.
Could we recommend 3 inches and above for branches to say, if a tree is well hydrated, is well irrigated, its tendency, just like you wouldn't take a wet log to a campfire, right? It's more likely to smolder than catch fire. Scientifically speaking, from the many, so I've been following the Zone Zero
No,
thing,
yeah,
right,
I
since the
have
very
too.
beginning, and listened to a lot of scientists talk about, or fire experts and all of that talk about this, and I feel comfortable with this, personally, with the caveat that small branches would be excluded, and that the branches have to be branches should be 10 feet above, be over 3 inches.
Yeah, I guess the other thing that I thought was odd was, they give you examples of like 6 different plants, and it's like, I wouldn't use any of those.
Yeah, well, yes.
So why did they put, why wouldn't they just say drought?
We could just say, limit,
Yeah,
take that out.
it's in there twice.
Oh,
2 different
what page
locations.
are you on?
This one is 4, and it's,
So just
secondary.
remove any specific designation of plants.
Yeah.
Which plant would you allow?
Which one wouldn't I allow?
Yeah, you said the ones you wouldn't use.
She just wouldn't use them as a
I just
design.
wouldn't use.
Oh, as a designer, I was thinking of it. So I do not support the whole tree thing.
Okay.
And yes, maybe the tree canopy catches embers, but once the tree catches on fire that's overhanging your roof, you're not telling me the fire's not gonna drop down on your roof. I don't care what anybody says, I've seen enough that these trees, maybe it catches the ember flying, but if the tree catches on fire, those branches are dropping fire onto the house. And also because of what's going on with insurance and limb drop.
I don't
and
think we
limb-
can look at it from an
No, but
insurance
I
standpoint.
get it, but I really don't support that.
What would you support?
No branches over the house.
Yeah, but so then you're taking away the whole.
Yeah, that takes away, that
Like
does away
all of
with
LA
my house
County.
then.
All of the trees in
And
residential
I
areas.
trained up my trees over my roof, but.
There's more risk of it getting into the attic through ventilation, underneath, and in areas coming under the house at foundational areas and catching embers dropping on a roof. If your roof is up to date and Dakota, not wood, that should not pose a problem in catching a house on fire.
I don't support having the trees overhang the house.
Yeah, okay.
I am being overly cautious. This is our liability. This is our protect the health, safety, and welfare. And the science is evolving. We see these massive fires. The scientific studies are gonna come out for years after this. And I don't think the average homeowner is gonna know to measure it's 3 inches or not.
Okay.
And how do you tell someone to prune just the thin twigs off or whatever? And I think that's can add to some confusion to the homeowner of what is that really? Now, I don't know if it was in this one, I think it was in the local fire, was anything over 8 inches in wood, if you could treat that then you could keep that wood. It was under the 8 inches that they didn't want the doing a treatment to it. And I don't remember seeing that in here. And so I think it is a local, Santa Clara County fire was trying to clarify that, because then by the time you get to 8 inches, that takes a while to burn. And so you could treat that, but less than that, I don't think it's in the state one. I don't remember seeing that in here.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, obviously, this doesn't address the insurance
No.
issue, and that's gonna be the driver in all of
Yeah,
this.
it will
My
be.
concern is that insurance companies are gonna use this as an excuse to just start dropping everybody, more or less.
They are.
And then what's the state gonna do in
Right.
that case?
I think, yeah, it's a good question that we don't have an answer for yet. I think it's a very legitimate question, John.
So I guess one other question, getting back to the design side of this, is there gonna be any follow-on provisions to this once it's implemented as far as adoption of standard details for,
There hasn't been discussion of that, but it's not to say that it wouldn't happen. But at the meetings that I've attended, there hasn't been discussion about specific details. I think the closest, I appreciate that they included the 6 and 7 exhibit, the figure 1 and figure 2 on 6 and 7 respectively. I think that helped a lot of people visually understand what they were saying.
Yeah.
And this was definitely new, these sorts of illustrations. So that was helpful. But specific details, I don't know that they would do that. There's been no discussion that they had planned to, at least.
When you say specific detail, what exactly, are you looking for a fence detail or?
Well, I guess what I'm looking at is obviously the municipalities are gonna be the ones that are gonna be enforcing this. And when we bring something into them to be reviewed, are they even gonna know what the heck they're looking at and whether it meets the criteria for what they're checking, the boxes they're checking off? Because I think that this is more educating them than educating the homeowners, to tell you the truth.
And an attempt to educate everyone, and they have said that there would be a series of educational, like they've tied into phase 1 educational components. They know that has to happen for this to be successful.
Well, and like this job that I'm telling you about, the city codes have not caught up with this.
Right.
They're in the process of trying to figure out, and now that this is out, this is helping, but the process for cities takes months. And I'm not the only landscape architect, there's 4 others that are also pushing for them to get this. And then they say, okay, you can use gravel, but you have to consider it impervious and add it to your impervious number. Like, wait, so the rules have not caught up with this. But this is new, I mean, this is like a week out, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks out, it
2
was
weeks
done in
out.
April.
Yeah.
So is this being even seriously discussed from an economic standpoint? And what I mean by that is that
Cost benefit analysis.
it's like wood fencing is basically just gonna go away. And what impact is that gonna have on the economy?
They took that out. The side wood fence.
But it doesn't make any difference. There will no longer be wood fencing in California if this passes, because they'll just do away with it.
From an economic standpoint, I think we really have, like Susan was saying, I think we have to worry about this from the health, safety, welfare standpoint.
Right.
I feel it does that. Susan feels it doesn't. You know, we have a difference of opinion on that with the trees. We should, how do we, if a letter is being written or legal, question here. If our desire is to write a letter, do we take a vote on the content of the letter, or how does that go as far as expressing the voice of the membership of the LATC?
We could take a vote if you wished, but it probably gets a little confusing because there's not a draft to review and
Yes.
officially adopt.
Okay.
But the board can express to you as chair that you have the authority to draft this letter and either bring it back for a vote or submit it as the chair.
Okay. Okay.
Representing the committee.
The committee, okay, thank you.
I would prefer to see the letter.
Yeah.
But,
A draft.
but the process of getting to a letter, we're not back for 3 months.
Right.
And
And
so
it's
that,
decided
you
and
can't
done
like
by that
send it
point.
out to us individually and get us to comment. So I understand the timeline of things. If there were the ideal world and we met in 3 weeks, I would say bring the letter to let us review it. Yep, you're the lawyer, but my thing is if you guys all vote me out and say, we don't care, we're gonna do it anyways, it's a vote, right? 3-2 or whatever passes it. I'm expressing my opinion and
When is this supposed to come up for final adoption?
Oh, well, there's, the committee is, the Board of Forestry Zone Zero Committee is supposed to take their recommendation. Perhaps this, perhaps some of the letters and things that they've received from other people. There is a group of people that are saying absolutely nothing should be planted within Zone Zero at all, anything at all.
that's me.
And
it's,
there are people that see what that will do to our urban canopy and that it's gonna be hugely detrimental.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah, 'cause
well,
was gonna
I
say-
think what we should do in the interest of time is vote on whether we feel at this time we would like to say we support this, and we could certainly add, like, well, I don't know what the best way to do, how do we do this?
So for the general context is you can say, approve or whatnot, and could potentially vote on topics. I would caution that this specific item was not noticed for action. However, you guys do have a provision that says discussion and action may be taken on any item on the agenda, which is considered a catch-all, but we are kind of fading into, we're in a little hazy spot. But certainly for you as the board, to make sure that you have effective communication from the committee, exactly what the letter should consist of, then that would be a reasonable outcome of this agenda item.
Okay, thank you.
I'd
John?
like to make a motion that we draft a letter to I don't know exactly who it would go to.
Board of
If
Forestry
it would
Zone
be-
Zero Committee.
Okay. That we support the draft language as is, subject to future changes. That, because I'm not.
As is, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not totally convinced that even this is gonna be the final.
We don't know.
Language.
Yeah, we don't know.
And,
That'll go in June, and then there'll be time for public comment and all of that during that time.
yeah.
Okay, and that's it. So in support of the draft language as is.
That's what I would say,
Okay.
yeah, at this point, because we can always change our mind later.
Okay, so seeing your motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Patricia. Did you have some comments? Did you still have stuff you wanted to ask, Marty?
We're gonna discuss it, right?
Yeah, we
can
can
discuss
discuss it now, yeah.
We've got time.
We're gonna discuss it, I'm gonna discuss
Just
it.
checking in if I had
If the motion approved, yeah.
Okay, all right.
But we do have a motion and a second, so now
So
it's
now
time for
public.
discussion.
It is.
I can also add, if the committee would like, as legal counsel for the committee, the letter can come to me prior to being submitted to make sure that it does reflect the will of the committee.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I would like to amend the motion to cover what was just said.
Yeah.
I think it
Well,
needs-
that-
Oh, that can just be a direction.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I amend my motion.
I'm writing it down
Does the
here. I
second,
got
does
it.
the second agree with
Okay,
the
so
amendment?
now that we've had a first and a second, do we open it up for public comment first and then
We can have
comment?
board comment,
We comment.
or committee comment, I do
Yeah.
apologize.
Yeah, so
Susan Marty.
Susan, so your comment about zero things within zone zero. Keep it empty. I mean, that's something every jurisdiction can make that determination. So I don't know if that's appropriate for everywhere to have zero within zero. So if you don't want any planting within there, that's fine. We can bring it up. It'd be amended with whatever jurisdiction you feel like that really needs to be implemented in. But I think the interpretation can be amended based on what it's saying right now, verbiage. So it's not being concrete. So I think the flexibility is still there, but I think something needs to be in zero.
I think you're right. I think the flexibility is there. I think there are cases where in areas that are highly rural, where we have huge properties, right? Having nothing in zone 0 is a non-issue, right? It doesn't really affect that acreage of property. I think and most of the pushback were in these highly urban areas where houses are so close together. And the question is, should they have been built that way to begin with? Well, yeah, maybe not, but they are, and they're there, and so how do we deal with them best? There was, and if there had been evidence that hedges and trees and, what you're talking about, like, actually occurred in the Eaton fire and in Palisades fire, then, I would be completely on board. The last thing I want to see are, loss of lives. It scientifically has not been proven.
Yeah. This research is still ongoing.
It is.
I'm looking at, I'm licensed to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the general public. And if my client's house burns down, I'm gonna feel terrible, but also could potentially have liability. Having this policy helps that, because you could say, I comply with the policy, but still there's the insurance and other issues. Insurance is a big one. I know what you're trying to do, and yes, we want a little bit of planting, but that raging fire is not gonna know to stop at 5 feet.
No, and it didn't, which, we saw evidence that it didn't. There's a whole home hardening aspect to this too that has to happen as well.
Yes.
Now, that said, what you're talking about is for our clients. So for our clients, if I had a property, would I plant a tree in the 0 to 5 foot area now? Probably not, right? But how do we deal with the canopy that exists and best use it? There's a lot of people that rely on trees and plant material to cool their homes. Not everybody has air conditioning or the ability to cool their homes. And I think we have to think about that. I think, like Marty said, this is a basis that gives some wiggle room and allows jurisdictions or individuals, if they want to make things more stringent or pull out everything out of zone 0, there's nothing to say that you can't do that. They're saying this is what is allowed.
If there were a provision in here that said no new trees in the 5 feet, I would probably support it. I would not think, right now, cities are saying you have to plant trees in the 5 feet to screen the second story. That should be going away.
Yeah.
And so if that were added, and maybe if that could be in the letter about addressing new tree planting, I'd probably be a little different, but I'm really concerned about
let's
catches
say
fire.
Then can we amend John, would you be willing to amend your motion?
Yes. Hold on though. Here's something to add to that. So who's going to interpret what a tree shrub is? Plant gets out of. You're going to plant that shrub in there. So somebody's going to interpret it as a tree. It's a maintenance thing. So it goes back to the whole reason why this was put in there. And I think having no trees in there kind of makes sense. Trees, but.
Well, I think there is a definition of a tree versus a hedge.
What they're saying is no hedges or no shrubs inside the eave, from the edge of the eave in toward the house. For the fact of flames.
The ladder, the step ladder.
So no vines, right? Because they feed right up.
Yeah.
Well, they already have the 1 foot zone. They already have the 1 foot zone restriction. But I thought it was in this one where there is a definition of tree versus hedge. It might not be in this one then that I saw it. Because it does say like well-maintained non-woody plants, 18 inches tall, so there are some definitions in here. Non-woody plants, 3 inches, 18 inches, something over 15, over 5. So maybe that is the language of our letter is define hedge and tree.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitions are real important, so everybody's, on the same page as far as the conversation, so.
Yeah, and what about grade walls? I mean, we're eliminating that. So, I mean, that's impactful for a lot of impactful statements. When you talk about a commercial project, but that's the other thing, we're not talking anything about commercial buildings. And I think,
This is all buildings.
We are.
This is all buildings.
This way
Yeah.
commercial properties.
Yeah.
It could hit universities.
Oh, yeah.
UCLA falls within the very high
Because I'm just
severity.
thinking from a tagging standpoint, it's just like, okay, good luck.
Right now, it says to ensure that all live tree branches are at least 10 feet away from chimneys and stovepipe outlets, and at least 5 feet above a roof, and at least 1 foot from the walls of a building structure, and to ensure, 11, and to ensure that live tree branches are not underneath eaves.
Let's see how your letter comes together. Yeah.
So, back to, so.
Wait, where were you reading again? I'm sorry.
Page 11.
Page 11, under 5, C.
Yeah, I got it.
Got it?
They do define tree on page 9. And then they define non-woody plant, I don't know if that's a shrub or not,
That's it.
right?
Well,
That's a shrub.
it could be,
Yeah.
There are tree
shrub could
shrubs.
be,
Yeah,
woody or
both.
non-woody.
That's
Clear.
wrong.
Clear.
From a
Yeah,
botanical standpoint.
Trunks or stems 4.5 feet above the ground of at least 4 inches,
Mhm.
and the height of maturity of 15 feet. Okay, so when it says to ensure that all live tree branches are at least 10 feet away from the chimney, in this way.
Above or this way. Horizontally
Then
or
it says
vertically.
5 feet above the roof.
If those don't exist, if a chimney or a stovepipe doesn't exist.
So if we have a chimney, the tree has, branches need to be 10 feet this way, but can be 5 feet that way.
No, 10 and 10. Well, if they're over, no.
So
Okay,
10
that
feet
may-
away from the chimney, is that this way?
5 foot above a roof that doesn't, where it's not, no, it doesn't mean that. It means, here, if this, let's say you have a roof, and, let's say the chimney's like right there, right? The tree came up. That needs to be 10 feet. I can't see it in that drawing. Building.
Okay, so this isn't clear then to me, because it says, ensure that all live tree branches
I
are at least 10 feet away from the chimney and at least 5 feet above. Well, if you're 10 feet away, it should be 10 feet above, right?
On one of those.
It's 5 feet from the roof, if you look at page 6.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah, there's a
description.
diagram,
Here,
Right,
and it
Yeah,
shows
that
that
was
it's
what you were
5
trying to
feet
draw.
from the roof.
see,
right, that's what, yeah.
I mean, if it were here,
It's
it
10
would be,
feet
it would be 10 feet.
all the way
But
around.
it's this way, right? I think those trees are in the middle of the house. It wouldn't be, like, you can't have a tree.
Okay,
It's
so,
physically impossible for
so-
the tree to grow there.
so let me go back. So 5 is trees, and then A is to ensure that there are no dead wood or dying branches within zone 0. Okay, and then C is to ensure that all live branches Okay, so no dead wood in that area at all.
Mhm.
So where would you add about the 3-inch size branch?
Well, actually, it looks like they said tree branch
It's 4.
was actually 4, so we would just leave it as is. I was just using that as, yeah. as it is.
So I'm kind of curious, you have 1298.02, and that's definitions, and that's on page 2.
Mhm.
And then on page 9, you have, it's another list of definitions. Yeah, 1299.02. So one is 1298.02, and are they two different pieces of legislation? I'm trying to understand why they broke it up like this.
Yes.
It's two different
If you
pieces
see
of,
on page 7 is where they're talking about the state responsibility area. So that is for the state responsibility area. And then the first part is
It's the
for,
local.
let me go back to what you say.
oh, that's kind of confusing. I mean, do you think they need to be two separate
A
things?
separate page, I'll start on it. Yeah, and this one is the local responsibility area. So one is SRA and one is local.
Yeah, and then, those,
I think
Those
they
need
do,
to
I
be
think they
defined.
do, because there's some little bit of a differentiation.
Mm.
They had something on one of their, and I've read so many of these that I think I maybe missed it on this one, but they had in the past defined LRA and SRA. We could just ask them to make sure they make that clear.
Yeah.
In our letters.
Yeah, I'm not seeing I see where it says LRA,
Mhm.
so 1298.01 is under LRA. 3 is still, then 4 is 0 requirements, and then that's where it changes and adds the new definitions, is that?
Mhm.
state respons- Okay, there it is, I'm
She-
sorry, state
Yeah, as
responsibility.
Kim said, they've broken it up between LRA and SRA. Yeah.
okay.
If we are comfortable with the language as is, with the introduction of no new trees to be planted within zone 0 moving forward, and noting that we will write a letter and send to legal so that they can make sure that the members' voices have been heard. Is that a significant adjustment to your motion, John?
I will accept that.
So can we restate the
Yeah, would you care for me to repeat that for you?
No,
Legal would.
yeah.
I will do
Okay.
that. The answer would be yes, John. Okay, so John, what I hear is you have made a motion to write a letter to the Board of Forestry Zone 0 Committee that we support the draft language with the addition that no new trees be planted in Zone 0, and that this letter will go to, after I write this letter, it will go to legal to have them make sure that it expresses the voices of the committee.
Perfect.
Okay.
Were you gonna add something? I don't like the fact that they list, like 4 or 5 different plants.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, we should just
And
say,
take those out.
don't call out.
I think we asked them last time to give examples.
yeah, we did.
We asked them last time, we said, well, give us some examples of plants, so they added them.
Well, we said make a list of acceptable plants. This
Yeah.
isn't
That's
that.
not a list.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still think a list is a good idea. I mean, when we talk about health, safety, and welfare, again, this is
We
something.
have some we have some nonprofits that have started doing that.
Yeah.
Altadena Green has developed this.
And there are, universities are doing testing. There is a chart on combustible barks.
And can we keep going?
So, but that would be the same thing, to
Yeah.
start studying the plants and how they burn.
Yeah.
And not only that, but a list of plants that tend to be able to survive a fire. There are some that are very fire resistant.
Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah.
Okay, so remove specific,
We need a second.
we need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. Patricia, second. Okay, now we've had our comment, we open it up for public comment.
One
Oh.
clarification. You seconded the original motion. Are you adding the provision about the plants? Because then that needs to be added to the motion.
I thought you
That's
stood
what
back
I
on
thought.
that addition.
I thought.
I will say, does the language of that text there say including but not limited to those
No.
examples?
Doesn't
It
say
says
that.
such as,
Such as, that,
such
Such
as,
as.
same thing.
yeah.
Yeah, that usually means that as long as it meets those kind of boundaries, that whatever appropriate
Yeah.
plant
And those
will
plants,
fit. Yeah.
many of those plants don't grow in Southern California.
Yeah.
So
And
we
then-
would not plant them there.
Knowing government and the law as I do, I'm sure it's somewhere. In fact, just Googling where, what was it? Shrub was defined, several entities came up. So somewhere, someone has
Someone
talked about
has a
it.
definition.
Well,
They had multiple, so.
I'm just looking at what they say, such as bulbs, annuals, grasses. Excuse me, but grasses are the ones that are gonna go, they're gonna burn first. So, yeah.
But yeah, so currently on the table was the second as read.
The
So
first
if it
was
needs
as
to be
read.
amended, we need another
We need to
motion.
start over.
John?
Well, anybody could make
Who's
the
on
first
first?
motion.
Do we, okay, so I'm going to suggest a motion that says we write a letter in support of the latest draft completed by the Board of Forestry's Zone Zero Committee in support of their draft language, amending it to say, we suggest that you add no new trees to be planted in Zone Zero and remove the specific plants that you've listed to make it more general and let people figure out on their own. So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Tricia seconds. Now we open it up for public comment, right? Or do we vote? Yeah,
Always.
public comment.
Hi,
Moderator.
this is moderator. Thank you. If any of the public members would want to make a comment on this motion, you may look for the raise hand icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen. And if you're a call-in public member, you may press *3 to raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. I see no comments. I turn the floor back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Chair, would you care to do a roll call vote, please?
Absolutely will. John Rosinski. Aye. Susan Landry.
Aye.
Pamela Reeve.
Aye.
And Patricia Trout.
Aye.
And Marty Armstrong. Aye.
Excellent. Okay, we have a unanimous vote. I will write the letter and we will send it off to legal. Thank you, everybody. Great collaboration.
And we get copies of the letters.
Yes, ma'am. You don't trust me?
No, I just want to have a copy to show people.
Okay, we are onward and upward. Update and discussion on Council of Landscape Architectural Registration Board, CLARB, current events and committees. I will ask Laura Zuniga to present this agenda item.
As I think John Rosinski mentioned, there was a recent mid-year meeting for CARB, and it kind of gave an overview of existing activities, a preview of the annual business meeting, which is taking place in Canada. I'm chairing the MBE committee this year, so we're talking about, we give a brief presentation at that meeting about the fee structure, which is one of the charges of the member board executives committee this year, is to look at CLARB's fee structure and recommend any potential changes. So our committee's been discussing that in a lot of detail over the last several months, and we'll make a recommendation to the board of directors later this year. And then we have submitted a travel request to attend the annual business meeting. I'm not optimistic as it is an out-of-country request, but we will try. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, and I did check in with CLARB on that. It is just you affirm what's on that ballot. It's not a choice between the two candidates.
Oh, okay, we just say,
So we're just This is like a consent agenda.
Yeah, because we didn't notice this item because we received it after we put together this meeting packet, so it's not on there to vote on, but because there's nothing to contest, I don't think that.
It's
You could just return it.
information.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a comment anyway, if I can do that.
Of course.
My concerns continue to be that, like for instance, all three of these candidates are all from the East Coast basically, and we continue to have a lack of any representatives from either California or the western states that are filling these positions. I can't just say why that is, but I think it's a message that we probably need to continue to make to Clark. And I don't even know if any California.
Well, people aren't volunteering. I mean, that's just simply it. I mean, CLARB doesn't seek people for its board, people volunteer for it. And so they're not getting the volunteers from this state.
But there is a vetting process they go through. They still decide who gets nominated.
There's,
Yes.
they
They do. But I don't know their candidate pool, like to Pamela's point, I don't know that there's a lot of people that are leaving out, right? I don't know how big it is.
I mean, I will say that in talking with some of the CLARB folks, there was conversation about whether I might be interested in some of those positions. I don't have the bandwidth to do it right now, right, personally. And I think I think that is what we see just in general in the world. It's like those of us that volunteer continue to volunteer all over the place. And that's the way it is, right? It doesn't you don't get 1,000 people that just suddenly decide to start volunteering in one big swoop. So I think some of that could be us, talking to people and saying, hey, consider this, right? Maybe people that are rolling off of our boards, people that are getting ready to leave and go on to other things might have a little time maybe to go and talk to CLARB. Just saying. So, yeah, but I hear you, John, and I agree. I mean, I think there should be a representation, just like we talk about a representation here on LATC. The same goes. It's always nice to have a representation from everybody that organization's serving.
But it is so hard to get people to volunteer.
It is. It is.
And when you see what happens, once we're liable for this budget. How many people want to come here and do that? I'm personally liable now for the budget. That's people are like, no way, I can't handle my own budget, right?
Yeah.
So in regards to the ballot, because I know they do not do proxy voting, or if you're not there in person, you don't get to vote.
No,
This voting is
that. They
separate,
took
they don't
that
vote at the
away.
annual meeting, yeah. We need to email it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we write, it says on
We just turn
something,
it
we
on form.
turn it in we send it to Andrea.
Yeah.
So, by Friday, July 24th.
But to, what John is saying, I kind of support it too. I mean, I know it's hard to get people to volunteer, but I wonder what the process is and how they come up with these nominating committees even, because, we're a huge, we're just under a quarter of all the licensed landscape architects in the country. We need to have representation. I think we need to kind of tell CLARB that too,
Yeah, but CLARB doesn't go out and ask people to be people have to volunteer. There are emails all the time that at least I get that are like, hey, we need these positions are open, please volunteer. I mean, from what I see, it's a very open process. When Andrea actually came here and they presented, she said the very same thing. She said, yeah, like it's not like they have people knocking down their door for volunteers either. I mean, just like getting people to put in applications for those of you that are terming off has been difficult. It's across the board. An issue. Yeah, I mean, talk to people you know that you think would be good and tell them they should get involved. Say, I get so much out of volunteering. You'll love it.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, no,
I mean, that's my feeling
Yeah.
at least personally. I don't think it's on Clark to call up California and say, hey, we need you guys. It's our job as individuals and licensees within the state to feel the responsibility and raise our hands. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I seriously considered it until my recent new job post. Yeah, she's laughing, right?
Grandma.
She's like, oh, yeah, right. Yeah, sure, in my spare time, so. Okay, are we good? I'm gonna open it up for public comment if we're good. All right, Ms. Moderator, please.
Hi, thank you. This is the moderator. If you would like to make a comment, please look for the raise hand icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen. And if you're a call-in public member, you may press *3 to raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. See no comments, I turn the floor back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, moderator.
You're welcome.
We are on to our last item, which is review and discussion, possible action regarding future committee meeting dates, future agenda items. Let's look at the meeting dates first, and then we'll open for added items for next time we meet. So we have CAB on a TBD date. Do we know location yet?
May 20th, it is here in Sacramento.
Oh, May 20th, not the 21st?
Thursday, right?
Thursday?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
21st?
Sorry.
Okay, it's here in
It
Sacramento?
is here in Sacramento. It also will be WebEx, so that you can attend virtually.
And I think Patricia, you had signed up? Okay, we have our meeting on August 7th at a location TBD, assuming most.
Well, when is the Clark annual meeting?
We're getting to it, it's 27th through 29th.
Oh, there it is, okay.
Mhm,
Right,
mhm.
Calgary.
Yeah, in
Okay.
Calgary and.
So we would meet before.
It would be
that?
before the
Okay.
meeting, yeah. And then our September, oh well, no, and then we don't have anything scheduled. We wanna move it. Okay, so, CAB meeting's August 20th. Is anybody signed up for that one?
Which one?
August 20th, CAB meeting? I don't know if I did, but I could go if need be.
Yeah, or I can.
You can do it too.
Okay. If need be. And I would suggest that, we probably meet sometime in late October, this
Mhm.
committee again.
Normally we do ahead of the CAB. Late October. Is that what you said, John? Yeah.
Sometime in the latter part of October.
Could we do it at the conference? To be so bold?
That's only 1 month though, right?
Yeah.
It's only 1 month from the.
If we did it during the conference, we'd have to have the room and everybody would have to come down. But it's
Yeah,
not to
they
say
would.
that it's not impossible.
Exactly.
Yes.
Are you saying?
I'm just thinking out loud. We're saying have a late October meeting, and Marty was saying, could that meeting be pushed up to the,
The August
To the-
7th, can you move the August 7th to accommodate your idea?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying, like take
Yeah.
that August 7th, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay,
Not to have two separate ones, just have one.
yeah, okay, yeah, I got it.
That actually might be interesting to have the meeting during the conference, but trying to schedule that in would be challenging.
What conference? I don't.
ASLA.
Our national
Where is
ASLA
it?
conference.
LA, Los Angeles.
Is that a hotel?
It's
The
all
conference
over the
at
place.
the convention center.
Oh, at the convention center, okay.
Yeah, and we typically don't pay to rent a space,
So
so,
how-
I mean,
Yeah.
we can look at the logistics, but.
But I'm sure they have their
Sounds expensive.
agenda by now, and how do you fit that in? But that
Well,
would,
it
I
wouldn't
think
be
that would be
during-
interesting to have it during.
Well, it
the
wouldn't be during, like, if we did it during the conference, then people are missing sessions. Like, it would have to be at a time like a day before.
And it's a
Yeah.
short.
I know, but it's a great opportunity to get us out there and get the 4 people that we've got attending this one to maybe attend this to see kind of what we're doing.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm
Yeah.
saying it wouldn't happen during the 3 days of the conference, because there's sessions going on.
There are sessions, yeah.
It
We
could-
yeah.
I would suggest that it happen before, like,
Before.
the day before or the day after,
Yeah.
you know, or,
All be gone, yeah.
oh, you will be?
I will be
Just
gone
stay
also.
around.
Yeah,
I'll be out of the country.
Oh, during the conference? Oh, okay, so you're not gonna be. Oh, well, you're retired and running all over. Okay. I like you.
Retired. yeah.
Okay, well, if staff could look at the logistics of what that would mean, that would be great. And we'll see
What, what day is that?
Wednesday through Friday.
Yeah, we still have
15th
quorum if we
Wednesday?
didn't have Patricia.
Yeah.
September 6th, yeah, that would be Tuesday. September 16th through the 18th is Wednesday through Friday.
And just to let you know, Monday and Tuesday preceding that day, there'll be meetings all day with ASLA staff and the board of trustees
Right.
and chapter presidents.
Yeah.
Will all be meetings, so none of them would be available.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
It would be cool though to have it,
Yeah, it would be
maybe
neat.
the following year plan ahead.
Well, let's think about it, like, think how we could do it. Like, is there a time that it would work within the schedule of the conference?
Yeah, I mean, you might have room at your location where we might be able to hold it without having to pay for rent. I don't know.
It could be a learning session.
I think like we applied the one time, if in a year from now,
Or we could
You
meet at
make
one of
it
the
a
schools, we could meet at
session.
UCLA.
Yeah,
That's-
fine. Yeah.
That's one of them.
yeah, that would actually get hopefully some people.
Doing it at UCLA would be cool during
Yeah,
that
to
time,
do it.
right around.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Or USC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not clear about my direction.
So you wanna try to, I don't understand what day you're
You want
looking.
me
We
to
don't
look at-
know yet,
Okay.
because I think we have to look at the schedule and see.
What I have first is to kind of see if there's a possibility on the day before, days before. Okay, I'll work with you.
Either the day before, yeah, we can talk more about that. Sounds good, okay, thanks for the suggestion, Marty. Okay, then we have the third annual meeting. Laura submitted travel, we'll see what happens. The conference is the 16th through 18th of September. Hope everybody's coming down to Los Angeles or up to Los Angeles, whichever it is. And then, as John said, a late October LATC meeting. Do we have, if CAB's November 12th, what week would be good, Kim? How much time do you need between the LATC and the CAB meetings?
Can I ask, if you're gonna meet in either September around the CARB annual meeting, do you need an October meeting as well?
We wouldn't need one.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this would happen if we kept to the current schedule.
Okay, and there's no August meeting, or you do want your August meeting?
We're trying to move that to.
We're
the
trying to
LA,
move August
the ASLA.
to September, and that,
Right, so if that doesn't happen and you don't meet during ASLA, are you're scrapping August, September, and meeting in October?
No, we would keep the August to stay on the.
we keep August 7th.
Yeah.
And have a late October, November, end of the year meeting, potentially.
Okay. Yeah, if you do it in October, that's really only 2 months between your meetings. There's
Yeah,
not-
do we
there's
need
really
it?
not a lot.
Do we need it?
You might not need it. You've typically been meeting 3 times a year the past couple of years. You usually don't, so something to consider.
We can get it done in 3 years.
Okay, we'll see. We can talk about it. We can talk about it at our August 7th meeting. If we need another meeting. How about that? Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. That's that. Okay, so Pamela or John will be at the August CAB meeting. Then we've got a November 12th CAB meeting. Do we know where that's gonna be, Laura?
I don't.
Okay, TBD.
It will be in Sacramento, it may be not at GCA, it might be at a college.
Okay,
That's the CAB meeting
yeah,
on the 20th.
on the 12th of November.
Oh, okay.
Anybody wanna raise their hand for that one?
If it's up here, possibly.
Okay. Yeah, I was putting me down since I didn't hear anybody, but I'll put maybe you.
Maybe me.
And we'll talk about it as it gets closer to that time. Okay, that's great. All right, so future agenda items. Susan Landry, please.
So I have two. The first one is regarding AI. And how is AI, I see it already impacting the profession, and is it something that is worth having a conversation or bring up? That
Sure.
what AI is going to do?
How it's
how is
impacting
it
health, safety,
impacting?
welfare.
Yeah, and a specific example would be.
That's fine, that's it.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay, all right, that's it. And then the second one is, I've been on this bandwagon for a couple years now. What does a garden designer get to do versus a landscape architect? And to me, there's a gray area that is being encroached upon by garden designers. And so I was hoping we could have a conversation around what is the difference? When are they violating? When are they not? Go look at this.
And we're glad we
Yeah.
give a presentation.
Let's discuss this, right?
No, no
Yeah,
discussion.
just those
No
are the
discussion.
suggestions.
Marty Armstrong.
Yeah, so, okay, this may be something you've talked about over the past, but I'm just gonna throw it out there. So after a meeting, our last meeting at Merit, and, we heard some feedback as to what their program's offering. And, we heard from, the directors there that, they've got students that are graduating and getting certificate programs, going directly into the workforce. Surprising, it's happening. People are hiring individuals
I'm so
from.
sorry, what is the agenda item you're proposing?
Let me
That,
get to it.
because we can't allow
Yeah.
discussion,
Yeah.
so like, what?
It's not a discussion, I'm just kind of doing an intro.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
without
so
the
it-
intro,
so
what would be the topic?
My topic would be to create a subcommittee that looks into new programs that are being implemented by community colleges. Community colleges are expanding their baccalaureate programs, and we are not involved in it currently. Deans are having the discussions about what they're creating that is a very similar component to landscape architecture. It's not titled that. You can't have conflicting UC programs and CSU programs.
I think we have enough for the
Yeah,
future
so,
agenda item.
so that's.
So learning
what I'm-
about what community colleges are
What are
teaching
they
or
doing?
how,
How are
and what
we
are the
involved? Yeah,
students
yeah.
doing when they get out? Does that
Yeah.
sum it up?
I mean, there's programs that are happening in San Diego that are
Okay.
moving forward without art involvement.
So what are they teaching? And then what are graduates, what positions are graduates in jobs after? Okay. Tricia, anything for you?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. All right. I will open this up for public comment, please.
So as the moderator, if you would like to comment on any future agenda items, you can look for the raise hand icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen. And if you're a dial-in public member, you may press *3 to raise your hand. We do have a comment. You'll have 3 minutes to make your comment. You're gonna see an unmute request on your screen, Gun, and you will be able to unmute yourself and make your comment. Kun, if I don't know if I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Yes, this is Gun Unsal, APLD California president. I just want to say we would love to be part of the discussion for the next agenda that was proposed about the differences between landscape designers and landscape architects. So please keep us in mind.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, I didn't hear who from APLD was here today.
Yes, this is Gun Unsal. I'm the president this year, 2026, and I was president 2025. So you might be familiar with other names. I'm the latest president.
Great, yes, and I'm familiar with your name as well. Thank you very much, and thank you for being here.
Much appreciated.
We made a note of that. Okay.
See no other comments. I turn the floor back to you, Chair.
Thank you, moderator.
You're welcome.
With that, I believe at 1:38, we are adjourned.
1:38, adjourned.